all the plugs to plug in. Good evening, Club Cult. Welcome to Stream the Dreams project. And thank you all oh so very much for all of your support with Mr. Voya Bean's kickoff so far. I appreciate it immensely and intensely. And pull us out of purgatory. I actually connected? Yes. Okay. That was fun. That page was blank. I can pull us out of purgatory. Boom! Beautiful. I missed something in Discord the other night. I said I would look after baby PB, and then I forgot. I'm only human. Why is that weird? I got coffee. Grounds with my coffee. Why would that be at the bottom of my cup? Hold on, Club Cult. Let me rectify this. We got nowhere without coffee. Oh, that was Aki. That was Aki, Zeke. That was Aki, Gunther. Oh no. I don't know what I did there, but let's not do that again. That was ucky. Very ucky. Oh. It's very hard for this tag sticking out. Coffee to make me say ew. But that did it. Oh. This situation. It is so humid tonight. Like any tiny move and we are floof. Okay, Discord, what are you telling me now? Nitro now comes with Xbox Game Pass. Well, I don't have that anymore, and I canceled it on my nephew because he did it without my permission. Because he's a silly goose. I really don't think he knew what he was doing, though. I think he assumed it was just, like, linked to mom or dad's card or something. But no, it was linked to my card. Paul McCartney making mashed potatoes. Mashed potatoes, you say? Oh, snap. Spudley. We learn and then we play Club Cult.
Right, well now this is a first, never done this before, but how exciting is this on the internet? Okay, this is going to be a recipe for mashed potatoes. What I've been doing for many years, and what is in Linda's cookbook on tour. Here you go. Right, so basically, you know how to peel a potato. You don't use a big knife like that. You use a potato peeler. I use a silly little knife like this. So
Do you guys peel your potatoes to make mashed
and you're
potatoes?
going to
I don't.
peel a whole
I don't know if it's
handful
true or not, but I was
like
always
that.
told
And
all the
these country
nutrients are in the
programs, as
skin.
you know, they always say, here's one I prepared earlier. So we'll get rid of that little bit there. And these. And this will, when it's peeled,
I don't know if that's true or not.
let's do the real thing. We'll peel this, and then this can go in with these others.
I got all thrown off my
What we had
timeline with bad
prepared
coffee.
earlier.
Ugh. Should be grateful.
So,
It's the first
do
bad
something like
coffee
this,
I've had in a
you
very
know,
long time.
cut the
I can't
wet
even
in half.
remember.
Here we go. You cut it something like that kind of size, roughly like that, that kind of thing. And you sling them in some boiling water for about 20 minutes. Now, there they are. We've got these on already. Stick a bit of salt in. This is nice organic sea salt. You just have a nice big fistful of that. You sprinkle that in. And those will take about 20 minutes. Now, the thing is, there's some people out there who are brilliant cooks. So, of course, I'm highly embarrassed to be telling you how to do this. So you can just have a laugh. Just sit back and have a laugh. The rest of you who don't know how to cook, like me, will be highly educated by this procedure. Okay, here we go.
No, potatoes
Here,
are really
while we're
good for
doing
you.
this, 20 minutes. What you do now is you can prepare the onion.
I know some
which is
people
like a
probably
little
don't like
special
the
touch.
skin,
Not
but
everybody has onion in
I
their
always leave the
this is
skins
quite a
on.
special touch. So here we go.
So when I was a kid, I was
just
told
cut
that
around here
was
with the onion.
where all the nutrients
And
are. I
hopefully
don't know if that's
it's
true or
not
not, but
It's not how you're supposed to do it properly. But you just pull the outside layer off here. Sling the bits. Now, you do
everything
this.
in
It's a very
moderation.
professional
That's
way to
true.
do this, but I
Welcome,
don't know.
Cyrogenics.
So basically, I'll do this like
Too much
this.
anything
I'll do
isn't
this
good
for
for you, and they
myself,
do have a lot of
which,
starch.
seeing as there's probably no
I'll
one
eat
watching
potatoes
the
until
program, I am.
I'm starch in the face.
So you get your onion, and you try and get it looking vaguely respectable by taking a...
I'm so
taking
proud
the
of myself
outside
for
off.
finally liking
Do it
baked
like this, it's
potatoes.
looking pretty good now.
I
Toppy
despised
bit off.
the concept
Oh,
of baked
funny,
potatoes when I was a kid.
Well, okay, this is only a demonstration, all
And
right?
now I love
So
them.
We're not worried about that. Right, now here's the
You gotta love the
this
potatoes.
trick, which Linda taught me. It's a brilliant trick. And it goes something like this. You take your onion, and then...
I've always heard like your plate should be a rainbow.
Straight across it like that.
And that's
Try
how
not to cut your finger
you're
off.
mostly
All these chefs go a little
certain
bit
that you're
faster than
hitting
I do.
every food group.
This is the slow method. You cut that way once, then you turn it around and you cut the other way now. So now... you've
I
got
know
this
I'm
square
really tired,
grid
lazy
going on
eating
the top of
when
this
everything
onion.
on my plate is the same.
And
Excuse me, the same
nearer
color.
you put these lines, of course, it's going to be the fine up the onion. Then what you do, this is the trick. Turn it on here.
This
and
knife
you just
technique
do-
is giving me
now,
anxiety.
look at that. You've got chopped
He's
onion.
he's
It's
precise,
all
but
away
like
a miracle. There you go. So there's your
doesn't
chopped
seem
onion.
to
Now
be
that's
using
Bet you've never seen that
skill
before. Okay, here we go.
more than
So
gusto
that's
with
on
his
the bread.
hands, and that
I'll
worries
put that
me.
down. Get me
It's a little nerve-wracking.
And here we go. This is getting to be like a series, isn't it, viewers? We could have been doing this for years, really. Okay, right. So now the potatoes.
I don't know when this was
we
filmed
leave
because
onions
he said in the
like that.
beginning.
Potatoes now.
Oh,
boy.
it was uploaded 20 years ago. You said in the beginning, like, it's such a funny thing to be putting this on the internet or
Let's let it
something.
boil for 20 minutes. We now take them off.
I never actually know how long potatoes boil
A
for.
little bit hot.
I just put them on the stove, and then when they're, like, really foamy at the top,
Fetching little oven gloves.
stab them with a fork,
Oh, hang on.
and then decide if they're good or if they need 10 more minutes, and then forward from there. I never know my initial boil time.
Right. Okay, right, here we go.
You went to took culinary arts courses just to get your knife skills? Damn!
Water.
That's very cool. Did you enjoy those?
More likely, a sink. So here we go. So we're draining off the water. Making
We had a
sure
small,
that
like,
you do this
2-week
very carefully
segment
because
of
if
cooking
it falls,
classes in
it gets
whatever
full,
my high school called
which isn't what you
home
want.
ec, but that wasn't it. I don't remember what it was called.
Okay, so that's that. Now we got these.
And that was cool.
These could probably go back on the heat a little bit there.
But, like, we didn't really learn anything other than basic skills that I already knew.
By sticking him there. Okay, so now, the next bit now that's dried off a bit, we're ready to go. Bring this back to the center.
American food is awful because of that. If you compare ingredients or even just, like, colors of product between what's sold in the US versus other countries.
Mash the spuds. Give them a good.
Like, in other countries, Fanta is actually orange instead of, like, neon.
So,
Maybe Sunkist I'm thinking of.
normally, but I'll just give
Some
them-
popular orange
I
soda.
better not do it too roughly because it won't look
Had home
so good,
economics
it
in
won't
high school
taste so good.
too.
This is
You're
what
talking college level culinary arts courses. That's fancy. That's fancy schmancy. That was a good choice to
So there's
take.
no lumps, nice and fluffy.
Life skills. Welcome, Midnight Dynamite.
Right, here we go.
Happy Sunday, fun day.
We take some
Sunday potato day.
and non-hydrogenated. That's the trick. It's not good for you, hydrogenated apparently. And then you take a little bit of this stuff and you just stick a little nub of that butter in there. And
Just
it
a
depends
nub
how
of
naughty
butter.
you want to be, really, because it tastes better the more you have.
Sometimes I get shocked by how much butter that people put in food, but then I think about how much, like, with a gusto, I scoop coconut oil into food, and I'm less bothered.
Potatoes are hot. And then, if you like, you can put a little bit of milk. And this is just semi-skimmed milk. You can use any milk you like, or you can use soy milk. That's
Old
very good as
saying,
well.
the way to a man's heart is his stomach is just as true for the
You can put
ladies.
some,
That is
salt
true.
in
I'm
before,
always impressed
and
when a
put
man
some
can
more
cook.
salt in. And this is just to
I'm not
say-
surprised when he can't, but I'm always impressed when he can.
Salty, and you
But
can
I'm
fry
spoiled
it
in that way. My
Maybe
dad's
about
a really
1
good
to
cook,
2
so I
points
grew up
too much
with amazing homemade
in. You add
meals.
it. Right, so then
It was a treat
start whisking this up.
if we ordered out or had TV dinners. Like, imagine that. TV dinner is like a treat. Because it's processed crap, so it's so good. But any other night of the week, most nights of the week, everything home cooked. But my dad would batch cook on Sundays when he'd be off work, because he was always off work on weekends. Very rarely. I think only in a few contracts when I was like in high school years did he work weekends. But he would always batch cook on Sundays. Stuff to freeze, stuff to eat for the week.
Do a bit more of this one. Because, no laughing please.
So I was bummed though, because I knew if we were making stew on Sunday, we wouldn't have it until Monday, because it's better when it sits overnight. My dad makes good stew. Degrease the pan with all kinds of butter to make frittatas. I don't know what a frittata is. Is it something egg-based? I hate cooking eggs. They always stick to the pan. But I have really old pans, and I don't cook eggs that much, so I don't get much practice in that. Thankfully, my niece and nephew mostly like boiled eggs. Like hard-boiled eggs. I did like poached eggs, though. My grandma used to make those a
Tastes
lot.
very good. Now, if you want to get a little bit flash when you serve it up, you can, what can we do? Anyone got a spoon there? Give us that spoon. Thank you very much. Spoon, man. What you can do then?
Well, then why don't my pancakes stick? Because my pancakes don't stick, but eggs do. I think I cooked them at too high of a heat.
It's starting to look good. It's smelling good. And,
Or I just don't use enough
I'm
oil.
not gonna
One
let
of the
the
two.
crowd eat it, you know, like they normally do.
Frittata is like a quiche without the crust, so it would be egg-based.
I'm having all of that. Not really. Right, here we go. And then you just finish off. You just want
The Julia Child
extra
in the
professional
background,
here. So I must say,
like
I
the
don't normally
backdrop.
do. You could just put a little sprinkling of parsley, chopped parsley, on top.
Julia Child taught me a lot.
Just put that there.
I went through a phase
And that
where I was obsessed
is
with
the
watching
thing
her show.
known as mashed potato. There you go.
And Jacques Pepin,
I can hear your applause from here.
Channel
Thank you very
11,
much.
you did not fail me in culinary education.
Fantastic. Okay, let's get on with the show. Go and do a bit more.
Potatoes! I mean, I feel like those are the pretty average make. But that's okay, that was really cute. It was the MASH video! It was very cute. I enjoyed it. Paul McCartney can teach me life skills any day. Any day. Ding ding. I forgot all about it the other night. Then I saw the notification when I logged off and I was like, dang it. We're saving this for next stream. I cut off the tag. What is a pink hair from former versions of Serena? It's from 1988. Dang. Was YouTube around in 1998? Where would it have originally been on the internet? Because he said something in the beginning about it's such an interesting thing to be doing this on the internet. Such an interesting thing. Toggle over. Since doing updates the other night, my computer has chosen to do updates on its own yesterday. So if anything's broken, it's not my fault, but please tell me. I can't fix it now, but I can fix it for next time. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. Get Sithy. Get Sithy. I don't even know what Newgrounds would be. Probably a BBC thing? That's possible. But there's so many weird things like that that didn't get archived, but it's so cool someone saved that. That makes me kind of sad. What else have we missed out on? But that is such a neat thing. It was posted on YouTube 20 years ago. So someone had it archived from something. Did BBC do a lot of early internet things? What would be one that maybe I would know? I did not know that. That's cool. Get Sithy. Like, who's who? Get Sithy. I can't tell if I'm still a little bit sick today or if it's just humid as fuck and I can't breathe, but we're gonna have a lot of Father TV-esque tonight. Doot 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 doot. What are we working on at the moment? Hostile takeover. We need to infiltrate Verve Gen Corporation. This feels like a Final Fantasy themed quest versus Star Wars. I think just because they're calling it a corporation. Why am I cross with you guys this evening? Have I been rude? Do I not have a good attitude? Uh-oh. Oh no. Get recommended a lot of BBC videos where they talk about the internet in the 90s. Oh, that's awesome. That's a very niche thing, I feel like, to be recommended. That's very special. Yeah, throw in the Discord. And this time, I'm 99% sure I won't just skip over it. Oh, with my hems. And I'm not cross with you guys. I just have very little throat clearance tonight. The pathways are limited. Unlike in-game, where they are unlimited. Because I can go anywhere and get lost. I'm talented. You scared me. I thought I was being bitchy without realizing it. I got concerned. But I know what, I don't have a good voice. I have like a not the best tone either. Show is called Tomorrow. Tomorrow's World. Ooh, 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 ooh. Where's Discord? I think I closed it. Like, easy in the way that it's, or not a good voice in the way that it's easily raspy. If I don't stay, like, super, super hydrated. Like, right now, it's fizzling out on us. But see, I'm gonna fix it. All better. Kind of. There's a slight difference. Let me get this thing to land and then I'll pull it up. We are in the infiltration station. What am I looking for over here? I don't have my taskbar there anymore? That's really rude. This game makes up its own rules for what it wants to be a part of or not. Oh, let me turn down the game volume. Oh, look at those chonky bitches. Look at those chunky bitches. Look at that. Would you just look at that? Back and forth, back and forth, and back and forth.
Imagine a world where every word ever written,
are you ready for the internet?
Every film ever shot could be viewed instantly in your home via an information superhighway. a high-capacity digital communications
Thickness.
network.
The
What that would
CRT
mean
is
to
unmatched. It's so
transform
chunky. I love it.
into a mammoth interactive entertainment
It's so hard to break
centre
those things.
with the odd stock exchange and shopping
Beautiful.
centre thrown in. It sounds pretty grand, but it all comes down to
Far off
computers
year of
communicating.
1999.
And in fact, that's already happening
That is
on
far off.
something
I
called
was
the
6.
internet, that anyone in the world with a computer
I was a
and
kindergartner.
a modem to connect it to a telephone line can subscribe to. There are over 20 million people connected up, and one person in particular I know is connected is the American President Bill Clinton. And I know that because I used this computer to write to
I
him
did
today,
not have
and
sexual
I've already got a
relations with
reply
that
from the
woman.
White House, and here it is. Right. Thank you for writing to President Clinton via electronic mail. The president is
I actually wrote a letter.
Dynamic
We were learning about, like, at some point in Clinton's presidency, we were learning something about the government and, like, how it functions, but in, like, a really rudimentary form because I was very small and young. But for God knows whatever reason, I decided when I was a kid, when we were learning all of that, that I wanted to write a letter to the president and tell him what a good job he's doing. So I was at my grandparents' house while my dad and his ex-girlfriend were on, like, a little, like, weekend trip or something. And I asked my both very Republican-leaning grandparents to help me write a letter to Bill Clinton to tell him what a good president he is. And my grandma helped me write it, and she used good print, and it turned out nice. I don't know if it ever got mailed, but Serena, fun fact. I don't know what in the year of our Lord that would have been. I have no idea how old I was, but kid me thought that that was an important thing to do. And I really wonder if that was, like, pre or during the Monica Lewinsky scandal. Like, I don't know how fast everything changed from then forward, you know? Oh, my goodness. Aw, Kitty in PS1. 99 was a good year. I just remember from 99, Stormwatch 99. I guess we had, like, a really bad winter storm, like it was blizzardy. I just remember the news repeating it, and I was looking out the window and repeating it all over again. Stormwatch 99. Stormwatch 99. I'm sure he appreciated the support. I don't even think my grandparents would have mailed it. Like, they're hardcore Republicans. Like, I don't know. I never saw a stamp go on it, but I saw the letter get sealed in an envelope, so, like... Yo, Bill, good job getting impeached, dog, right? Welcome, Uncontrolled Substance. I've been having a good weekend so far. I swear every year was a storm watch. It was like 4 inches of rain here, maybe. I mean, that's a lot if the ground isn't used to sucking it up. That's not a lot here, but in the desert, that's like flood zones.
Medium into the White House. And it goes on to give some details.
Just didn't think I could continue going on without sharing that fun fact with you all.
Now, I can't electronically mail our Prime Minister, John Major, because
my
he
God.
hasn't got a modem. And I can't find out what his government's policy on information
Inhaled by you.
superhighways is, because
It's a very
hasn't got
specific
one.
memory.
At least nothing beyond the usual things.
Although it hailed on
to
me and the
armed
dogs while I was
forces.
walking them.
But you can do more than just send messages.
Maybe like a month ago now. I felt bad about that. Oh, I traumatized Diesel the other night. So I now know a new knowledge of Diesel unlocked. I traumatized Diesel the other day. I felt really, really bad. Hey, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the club. Welcome to the cult. It is whatever you want it to be, baby. It was a choose your own adventure, and thank you for taking the time to be here tonight. It was garbage day, and Diesel had never, like, done a walk exactly next to the garbage truck before. Like, with them in the distance, but they were on the other side of the street, like, at the same pace as we were walking along, more or less. And he was holding it together so well until he just immediately hit the panic button and, like, darted behind me and tried to run in the opposite direction. Go, Diesel, go. So we had to stop on the sidewalk and take a few minutes and let the garbage man pass on by. But Diesel's afraid of garbage trucks. But he's such a pibble. He puts on a brave face until he decides that it's too much, and then he panic runs. So now we know that about Diesel. I always thought Diesel was just like, everything in the world is fine, happy-go-lucky, but no, he has big, deep feelings. I felt bad. We had a big talk on our way home, and when we got home about how Mommy's so sorry that she didn't realize that you were more than just anxious, you were scared. Because he was being, like, weird about it, like, kind of, like, moving back and forth, like, while walking forward, like, trying to shy in towards me, and then ultimately he made the decision to scoop. I was like, whoa, okay, we're gonna take a break. We're just gonna sit in someone's yard for a moment. I felt so bad. I traumatized him. But I didn't know he was afraid of garbage trucks. Now we know. Now we know. Now we know. Led to a minor flood in your family room. Oh no! Do you have a slab foundation or like a full foundation? Or the concrete foundation? A basement? A basement or a slab foundation? There we go. Slab foundations scare me because I feel like my house would flood so bad with that. No basement. That's no bueno. That's no bueno. I mean, floods in the basement suck, but I'd rather have a flood in the basement than upstairs. Knock on wood. They're kind of big and loud. Yeah, the automatic picker-upper ones are men's jumping off and picking up the cans. They pick up the cans, like, with the grabber thing on the truck. But if someone has, like, say, a piece of furniture out or, like, a lawn bag or whatever, it gets put in manually. So they have to jump out every so often. But they were just going by, shoo, chug up, lift, in, dude, shoo, chug up, lift, in, dude. And Diesel only took it for about half a block before he took himself away behind me. Which, that's good that he advocates for himself. I just wish I could have been more aware of his anxiety level, because I thought he was just a little sketched out, and he was just big sketched out and telling me like a baby by just shying into me. Like, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine. And then plot twist, he was not fine.
You can get news, recipes, and I found this
upset
satellite weather map in there. And there are interactive services as well. This is a shopping centre, and here it says it's just off the information superhighway.
Oh, the good old days of the internet.
And inside, there's a flower shop.
What I kind of love now is, like, some companies, very few that I've seen, and understandably so because it's rudimentary looking, but they'll go out of their way to make their website, like, old schooly for the nostalgia twist.
Tells me how much they cost.
And I like that.
Then all I have to do is tap in the address.
It's exciting to see.
And of course I have to give them my credit card details to pay.
I like calling it the information superhighway.
Let me just find that for you, because we've just
it was
put
once
some details on the internet,
and to some extent it still is.
Tonight's program and some pictures as well. It's all good fun, but what limits the potential
Welcome, Snappa.
of this
Hope
is
you're
that
having a
it's
good night so
relatively
far.
slow. You can't play a video down this, and in fact, most of that stuff we've had to receive in advance.
I have flu from my mouth.
That's because copper telephone lines are really designed for people to talk
Thank you,
down,
Zoo.
not for computers. But with an information superhighway built with high-capacity fibre optic cables, you're not limited to shifting around text and the odd picture. You can send high-quality
She looks like,
sound and
excuse
video
me,
as
she
well.
looks like a teacher,
So
but I think it's
when
just
are
her
we gonna
vest.
Get all this then? At the moment,
Again,
regulations
not
restrict
talking
what
shit,
services
just
can be offered
observing,
by phone
but
companies,
she's
cable
dressed like a
television
teacher.
operators and so on. But in America,
She's dressed exactly
any
like one
company
of my
who's prepared
second-grade
to invest
teachers.
in an information superhighway, there's a new law which means they can transmit anything they like on it: video, music, telephone.
And she does her
data,
hair
the
just
lot,
like my mom used
as long
to.
as they let other people provide services on it too. But it's not just a license to print money.
Sad thing
The
about
companies
fiber
will
optics
also
is we were
be
promised it
compelled
for so
to connect
long.
every classroom and library free of charge, so society stands to benefit as well. Here in Britain, though, restrictions still apply.
I know
BT,
no
for
details
example,
about
isn't
it,
allowed to
but I would
do
venture to
pay
guess
TV,
that that's something that would have
but
been
they're
hard to
developing some
implement,
interesting
like,
ideas to get what they
widespreadedly.
can out of their existing copper phone lines,
Vest and glasses
like
and
video
loose
on
pants is
demand.
very teacher.
We've got
It
a
is.
setup here to show what
Got
they're
casual
aiming at.
slacks,
The idea is
comfy
from
shirt,
the comfort of your armchair,
and like a
you'll choose
decorative
whatever
vest
video
that just
you want,
ties the outfit
and
together.
it'll be played down your phone line to your own TV.
You know some places that
It'll
have
not
it,
just
but
be
it's hard to
movies,
get.
though. There'll be other TV programs too.
I think
like
I have fiber.
This travel program I've selected here.
I don't actually know.
Now, the other thing is, because it's interactive as well, say I was wondering where he got his suit from.
I think it has a lot to do with also, like, the order of operations that they would install it would be, like, how many customers they have in that area base also.
They tell me that, but I can even
Because they're not
buy
going to put in
one
all
here
that
and
work
now
for nothing.
via the inevitable home.
Oh yeah, then I have
option.
fiber because mine is underground because I'm afraid of Ringo digging it up.
But this video on demand is a
It is
tricky thing to do
expensive
without
to do.
the extra capacity of the fibre optic cable.
Dang, I never
I,
knew
for one,
that.
will be
I
impressed
knew
by
nothing
the
how
other
fiber
things
works. I
on
just
running
know
our
it's a
phone
little
lines.
better.
But it could well be the first taste most of us will get. As we'll
Working at the speed of
rolling
light.
down the information superhighway. It's ironic that it'll come on old phone lines. But it could
Then why
stay
does it
that
send
way
you guys back
unless
to the
Britain
stream room
develops its own
sometimes when we're
vision
on the
of
go?
what sort of information superhighway it wants and how to get it.
Cables go underground too. Electric, but electric goes way deeper than cables. Cables are pretty shallow. That was marvelous, Moops. Thank you for sharing. Petition your neighborhood to switch to one internet company. Then maybe they'll come out and do it. That would be very nice. That is not the way. That is the way. It would probably depend if the power outages are like a tree falling or a transformer blowing, though. Because it's still going to connect to the pole no matter what, I would think. Thank you, Smoops YouTube algorithm. Underground cabling lasts longer, but it's more expensive to install and repair. I'm sure they took their sweet time with it out here. It's a lot to trench in. Oh, I just realized we're running through a trouble zone. Eek. It's the goons. Someone dropped their homework. Your neighborhood switched to one internet company. You start squalling like a black lady at a funeral. Oh, why did you get yourself in trouble? Don't do that. Come on now. I do feel like that would have an impact, though. Like if most of the neighborhood goes with one provider, but there's only a handful that go with the provider that would install fiber. It's probably just one of those additionally, like they'll get to it when they get to it things. Like I got a notice, I don't know, like 4 years ago that they were cutting down trees that the ash borers were getting into around here. They're like, at some point you will be in queue for this, blah, 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 blah. And it took them about 1.5 years out of that notice to actually come around and get to my tree. Because they're just going block by block at a time. And that's just cutting down trees, not even digging into the ground. Not that that's not hard work, but that's just on the city's terms. Imagine a company that handles like a whole section of the country. Or maybe even the whole country. Not that it's fair, but it makes sense. They would be slow to go. Oh. I don't think I had a choice in that matter. Oh, it's you. It's all of it. I thought I walked by you. Goodness golly. Say you on competing internet companies. Keeps the prices down due to competition. Who the fork else? Oh my god, it's all of you guys at once? Why? 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 Jeez Louises. Did you just wipe everyone out and I got like 2 guys? That's funny. Or she. Oops. We switched characters. No use. Makes sense that they would want to be competitive. This way, and that way. Shrina. It almost rhymes. If you say it silly and fast enough, it probably rhymes somewhere in some dialect. Somehow, somewhere. Very silly indeed. Sneak, 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 sneak. Sneak, 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 sneak. Sneak, sneak. No sneak. There was the concept of being sneaky. It rhymes in wingdings. Wingdings was fun to use as like a secret code, though. It's not actually a secret code. The key and answers are like right there, but everything's magic when you're a kid, okay? It's the joy of being a kid. Oh, you just lit me on fire. Rude ass. I'm gonna overheat. Why are you tough? Stop it. Just go on your break. Doesn't that seem nicer than this? I have a special love for wingdings because in the MySpace days, I couldn't always remember how to code every shape. So I would just copy and paste them from wingdings instead of coding little shapes in between. Yeah, I think the only one I memorized was hearts. Wingdings is the original emoji. It's the galactic standard. Kind of. Some of the signs in here looked a little wingy dingy. What? Oh, that scared me for a second. I was hovering over it and it turned white. I was like, wait, we're not going the pink path anymore? But we are. It's okay. I just panicked. Talk about panic! Pibby scared the ever-living fuck out of me tonight. Pibby has never been lost. Never. Ever. 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 My niece and nephew left the gate open once years and years and years ago, and she was just chilling in the front yard eating rabbit poop. Because that's what Pibbies do best. Pibby has never, ever gotten lost ever. And today, right as I started to get ready for stream, I could not find Pibby. Did I leave her outside? I don't know how. Her and Tigra came in, and then Diesel and Ringo were out. Okay, maybe she got out with Ringo and Diesel. Look outside. Can't find Pippi anywhere. Don't hear her jingles. Don't hear her click-clacking around. Starting to fucking lose my shit. Don't see her in the basement. Sometimes she breaks into the basement. Don't see her in my bedroom. She didn't sneak in with marbles. Okay, where the fuck is Pippi? And then I hear a slight jingle, and her old lady pants. And I'm like, where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Pippi doo. Where are you? I found her stuck in a corner in the dog room because she decided to push my grooming kit, like my big box, like just tools, out of the way, go behind the couch in the dog room, go around behind the couch in the dog room, and then get next to Diesel's crate where there is no backwards out, like she could not turn around from there, and just in the corner. She scared me so bad. I was truly panicking. Like, I know when I can't find someone, I'm 99.9% sure they're in the house, and I'm just being a little hoo-hoo, because that's what moms do best. But I could not find her. That was absolutely fucking terrifying. And she was just in a corner of the dog room that she has never chosen to go into before. But Pippi has wolf brain, so she does whatever she wants, and that's just lovely for her. But good God, did she scare the ever-living fuck out of me. I have not been that, like, in so long. I was scared. I was scared. Oh my God. No, I didn't mean to make you guys panic. Galactic Standard is the alien alphabet? According to who? Where's the proof of this? I'm just being antagonistic for the funsies. Not actually meaning to be antagonistic. You want to make you panic? I'm sorry. Oh, Smoops, I don't have the brain cells to decode that tonight. I just don't. The lights are on, but again, nobody is home. I have been staring at files, and my brain is cooked. If we think I can figure things out tonight, we've got another thing coming. And figure things out with a direct path with arrows that shows me where to go, then we've got another thing coming. That was terrifying. That was life-shortening. If I was a cat, be able to confirm identity. Fucker. How do I do my droid disguise? What? Mission items? Maybe that's what we need. I was so grateful that she was there because I had no idea where else she could be. Like, even if she was in the yard somewhere, the yard is closed. Like, there's no holes in the fences that she can get through. So, like, she would have been safe, but I could not for the life of me find her. And I just heard her hot breathing and tapping and jingling and just a little bit, and there she was in the corner. So I had to, like, shove Diesel's crate over and, like, pull her up by her poor little butt and her collar. It was a mess. It was a mess. It was a mess. I wouldn't try. I just pressed Alt and started spamming the numpad. Okay, at least I'm not missing out on anything. Galactic Standard is like old, early 90s. I was maybe just barely born then. I don't know things. Don't remember why I was made, but it's just lines and dots. So it's nerd Morse code. It's Norse code. Hey, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the club. Welcome to the cult. It is whatever you want it to be, baby. It's a choose your own adventure, and thank you for taking the time to be here tonight. I feel like if it was a cat, that would have taken at least a year off my life. That was horrifying. Thinking about it again, it's making my heart race. Just like, where are you, baby? It's activated now, I think. I don't know. Yep, I'm a robot. Wow, that's hot. I'd fuck me. Would you fuck me? Stupid numpad. There. Just, I've never lost baby before, and I didn't know where she was, and that was horrible. It was horrible. And her fucking dumb ass is probably just looking for random pieces of dog food that aren't even on the floor in that room. I need to clean the house, but I cleaned the dog room yesterday. Norse code. Did you just make that joke knowing ancient Norse runes were also lines and dots? Were you also combining nerd and Morse? Kind of both. I don't actually know what ancient Norse would have been, but for a brief time I taught myself some kind of rune language when I was in grade school. I think like 7th or 8th grade. Then me and my little friends communicated in our notes that way, and that was fun and cool. It was a very loose play on that part of the joke and more just a combination. Because I wouldn't know if true Norse and just whatever silly runes I learned would overlap and be the same. An attempt at both, but primarily the latter than the former. Go, Droid Serena, go! Into the executive office. Into. Hey, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the club. Welcome to the cult. It is whatever you want it to be, baby. It's a choose your own adventure, and thank you for taking the time to be here tonight.
It's still legal.
We have a little bit of a tight deadline on our tub stream goal. We may have a new foster friend sometime this week, possibly. Still a little up in the air. But he'll have to camp out in the bathroom for a little bit, and I'll have to take down the little streamer things that I have up.
From the Eagle, sir. Verve is your partner in the cause.
So our current follower goal will be up until sometime before the end of the week. If it's gonna happen, it'll happen sometime before the end of the week. Oh. Get Sithe. Have your ancient codes saved anywhere? It'd be fun to dig out. I actually do have the key in a box somewhere. I remember seeing it when I was reorganizing like childhood things more than a few years ago. Somewhere. When this cutscene is over, I'll pull up where it's actually from, because it reveals a whole new level of like, why is she like this? Or why was she like this? Or this explains a lot why she's like this now. I feel like it gives a lot of context for like obscure interests. Or my tendency to like put my all into something and then abandon it completely when I'm no longer enjoying it. I think we survived. Yeah, now he's just gonna beg like a little girl for a minute. So there was this book. Dragonology, the complete book of dragons. And there was a set of like communicative runes within the book. I don't know if it was actually even a real language. But, yeah. Shut up and go away. It was cool. I don't know, I just got obsessed with dragons. I don't know. Less lines and dots and more like interpretive letters, but yeah. I was fluent in that at one point. Oh, and there you go. It was perfectly right on the nose. Respecting ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics of mostly entire different furry animals in different poses. I did go through like an ancient Egypt phase. Went through like a mythology phase. I don't know, I've always liked history. But like distant history when I was younger. Now I'm just like a middle-aged crisis man. I'm like, show me something about the Civil War. Show me something about World War II. Watch something about Vietnam. It's very, very super cool of me. I was fluent in that at one point. At one point in time. It's just a really nice series, though. I think I got it at the book fair. Because obviously I'm so cool. History is fascinating. If you don't learn it, you're doomed to repeat it. Kind of, to some extent.
I'm looking at the woman who's going to kill me.
I don't know. I mean, there are worse things I could have been passionate about as a kid. I'm not upset about it. It's just a little, I guess, embarrassing. Because there are cooler things I could have been interested in. But I'm glad I was interested in those things. Had a lot of street cred with my niece and nephew because they went through similar phases.
The man at your feet is our opportunity.
Communications hub?
There are always survivors. Terrorists.
Real recognizes real.
You can deny them the resources to rebuild.
don't know anything.
We can use his computer-enhanced brain to locate the hub. You will need to route me to his cortical implant.
You can't do that.
There should be a standard interface somewhere on his skull. Connect your
What gave it away? Usually my ankle tattoo gives it away if my general attitude doesn't give it away.
Just don't slice my brain.
It was actually so warm yesterday. Oh, we have 2 Sithy choices. Oh my goodness. Today it was comfortable but decent. I still wore like, I think it was mid 70s. So I walked the dogs in like sweats and a hoodie still, but yesterday I did capris in a hoodie. It was like 83 out. It's been very warm. It's been nice. It feels springy. My irises are so happy. Where's my phone? I have late blooming irises, so they bloom this time of year, and then they bloom again before like the fall comes around completely. And they're so pretty. Look at the beautiful baby. Wow, my screen is dirty. I'm vascular tonight. Wow. Pretty flowers. They're so happy for spring. It doesn't show up well if my brightness is all the way up. Happy irises. And then my chives are where? Right in front. And they're super flowery right now. It was so nice. Then the dogs are just all like... You looked deeply into the well of nerd and didn't flinch. I guess days like that make it super obvious too. That's still genius to me. Like there's a random nerd holiday that you're passionate about, and to seek out people streaming precisely that is such a good way to find your people. That's so smart. I'm sorry for doing this, or shut up and deal with it. Both are Sith choices. We can take the slightly nicer Sith choice.
It's nothing
I feel like that's best.
but it is necessary.
It's been very springy feeling. I don't know how much that's going to continue. But it shouldn't be getting too much colder again at this point. No, we're going to have a nice week. A couple days in the 60s, but other than that, it'll be nice. Stormy a little bit, but nice. I think we're finally in spring mode. Shut up and deal with it sounds more Sithy. It does, but as a Sith, if I'm gonna get 2 choices, I'd like to think that I can take like somewhat of a moral high ground. Not like a Jedi moral high ground, but like a neutral moral high ground, and choose the less painful choice. Shut up and deal with it also keeps your companion thinking you're a dummy mommy. Well, she could just cover her ears for a moment. Mommy says, cover your ears. Mommy has grown-up words to share. Yes, and spring a saber on you. I would be deserving of it. For shame. Welcome, Za. Hope you're having a good night so far.
Once you're there, disable the terminal. Then the Nar Shaddaa terror cell will cease to exist.
Nar Shaddaa sounds like a punchline in The Three Stooges. Let me help is good. Pathetic is neutral. Goodbye. Kill is Sith.
An act of mercy.
Pachoo, pachoo. Hiccups are the worst. I hate having the hiccups. I feel for you. Boo! That would probably actually work as if I just screamed bloody murder out of nowhere, but I'm not going to do that to you guys. Got a new shirt. Oh, it has like coattails. It's interesting. Oh, I'm like Grey Neo? I don't know how I feel about that. I don't like that outfit, but okay. It looks so stupid. It's okay. You can look stupid sometimes as a treat. as a treat. Ah, ghost. Is there an elevator there? I feel like there was. No, it's a slope. Hiccups are so annoying because, like, sometimes, you know, like the average fix works. You just hold your breath, count to 10, take a drink of water. And other times they just persist incessantly. And I don't like them. Hiccups are painful for me. I don't like them. There's a new bill passing in Congress that says everyone has to go back to school for 4 more years. What? You can't be serious. I'll be truant. I'm not going. I'm not going. She said what I thought. Oh God, thank God. This is one of the scariest things you could think of. You could not... Well, you'd have to pay me an obscene fucking amount of money where I would never have to even think about the word work for the rest of my life to ask me to go back to high school. That would be scary. We don't want that. I really should have honestly acted worse and then had to do like online school. That's really what I should have done. But I didn't because I was afraid of getting in trouble more than the natural amount of trouble. Oh, those are shit gloves. I don't think I need that. I just give her a gift and she's like, yeah, don't waste your time. I did lose my cred with her. Damn. Passive mommy now. Blarg. Sith Neolook is kind of working for you. I don't like it. It's too much fabric. Like, look at her feet hitting it. If I was physically wearing that, I would be so annoyed. Aww. Oh, we had almost the same experience, Midnight Dynamite. You finished school, your entire neighborhood listened to School's Out by Alice Cooper. Only had a choice in the matter and made it with impunity. We had a really, really cool, what's the word? Intern teacher? I don't know. When a teacher is like there for like 3 months because they have to shadow a class and like participate. A student teacher. There we go. In order to like finish getting their degree. We had a really, really cool one my 8th grade year. I think it was in my English class. And she burnt us a CD of like a whole bunch of songs that she liked and thought we would like. Were like classic rock, so most everyone didn't know them already, but I was aware of most of them, but that one was on it. It was so cool. It was so neat of her. I don't think we can get by the droids without being detected. Space Kung Fu. She was really nice. I think wherever she ended up being a teacher, I hope she was treated well by the students, because she's deserving of good treatment. She was nice. She's that kind of teacher that, like, if you need someone to talk to after class, she would be there. We appreciate that. Fire! 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 Jeez Louise. Sheesh. Coin of good fortune. Okay. I don't even know if I needed that last one. Here, have. No, that's junk. Shut the fuck up. Bitch! Sneaky, 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 sneak. Sneak, sneak, sneak. Is there a cantina over there? I see the shapes and patterns. Oh. Not like going out of my way to avoid trouble. Not actually disappointed. I'm just amused by what I can and can't sneak past. And then I don't accomplish my super stealthy sneaking. And then I'm like, oh, I'm not super stealth. Dang! Thought I was super stealth. Not no space kung fu. I'd like to think that I do. That's so true. Like, it's generally not the kid's fault. Like, kids aren't usually truly purposefully terrible on purpose. Usually it's just like reactive terribleness, kind of. That's probably not the best way of phrasing it, but that's the best way I can come up with phrasing it at the moment. But it is sad to see when teachers get burnt out. I had a couple of teachers in high school where, like, either loved or hated my class, and then I had friends in another class of theirs, and they either loved or hated them, and it really does, I don't know, it's kind of like streaming in a way. Like, the crowd affects the general energy. So I was the one kid in the class that ruins it for everyone. My godmother teaches 2nd grade, so the kids don't really have, like, enough time to get truly awful yet. They're not that mature. But when they're misbehaving, and she rarely has any issues with them, I think mostly because when they're misbehaving, she has a foam rock. Like, it looks like a chunk of pavement. It's about yay big. But it's made out of foam. But it looks like a chunk of asphalt. And when kids are being ridiculous, she throws it at them. Then they stop. Usually. She has a desk next, or at least she used to have a desk next to her desk for the particularly, you don't want to behave? Okay, we're gonna be buddy system now. That rock scared me the first time she threw it at me. Most summers I used to, like, right before school would start for both of us, I would help her set up her classroom. And I love that, but I probably wasn't much help because I would organize the books, which, thinking back, was probably just busy work, but I would end up just, like, sitting and reading the books half the time, because I'd be like, oh, nostalgia, this story, that story, all of my stream room creativity, the board of which we cannot see, etc., is truly from learning how to set up a 2nd grade classroom, and that's it. Wonder why I make so many, like, cutout shaped things. There we go. That's why. We get pumpkins, we get hearts, we get cupcakes. You guys are the most well-behaved 2nd grade class I've ever met. My godmother's good at doing, like, the nice letters, though, and I'm not. I just scribble on the board. I never learned those. She also loves to scrapbook, though, and I think that's part of where she gets, like, a lot of creativity for those things. I don't know how to decorate, but I know how to kind of write on boards. Kinda. You remember your physics teacher was really excited on 2202, saying, this date will never happen again. And you raised your hand and said, no date will ever happen again. You little shit. You just took the fun of that for them and sucked it right out of there. But you're not wrong. Oh. Sometimes you can't help those things from coming out of your mouth, though. I feel like I've gotten in a little bit of not trouble, but unsavoriness in certain moments in life, because the filter just does not exist here between the thought in my head and the thought coming out of my mouth most times, and I can't blame you for it. Like, you're not wrong. Don't let that keep you up at night, though. I mean, he was a physics teacher. He should have also realized that no date ever repeats itself again. Filters are vestigial. Sometimes I'm better with having mine on. Very, very occasionally. Very rarely. Medical. We want transport. Transport! We must destroy the communications hub. That's funny. It's kind of a dick move, but that's so funny. It's a very blunt thought, and I appreciate it at the very least. Whee! 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 Hollow trees. Network access to what? Wow. What are you? What do I want? You're interesting. We go around, around, around. Do 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 do. The Imperial Data Center. Well, that's fancy. Fancy and executive. It's Gunther in the executive chair. He is. He's breathing a little heavy tonight because it's humid. I left the air purifier on. If you guys can hear it, it's running in the background. Apologies if it's loud. He was a good sport. I doubt he was truly upset. I'm sure they thought it was going to be his opening for other classes that day, though. But not every class had a cryogenics in it. I bet he repeated the joke and redeemed himself. Just took until next period. I would have still repeated it even if you ruined it for me. So hopefully you had the same mentality. Good. I'm glad it's not obnoxious in the background. I really don't know what the difference is. Maybe the world has just evolved to be more understanding. But if you had like the quietest fan on in the background of your stream in the dawn of my camming days, you would get complained about it so much. Like, you would think that there's bombs going off in the background or something. Like, it was a big deal. And now the world just really doesn't care when there's a fan on in the background, which I find interesting. But it could also be the context of the area. I don't know, maybe from a fan is like distracting while you're jorking it or something, but I was trained to be very aware of air sounds, and now it turns out I don't need to be so psychotically aware of air sounds. Although maybe it's the quality of mics at the time too, like they would pick up everything versus this kind of like isolates a little bit. Phone mic is better, but still. We're well trained, Midnight Dynamite. That's all it is. So I'm psychotically aware too. I know it's there. Blurp blurp. Up, up, and away. Aww. Thought it was so good at being sneaky out in the open. Maybe that's a benefit of it that people won't acknowledge, but is recognizable to a low fan, being not too disturbing anymore. Maybe we all like a little bit of white noise. The world is too quiet now. Maybe it used to be louder. I just remember it being such a cardinal sin. You know, I'm like, is the fan too loud? It's on like the lowest setting. He lays on the floor and sprawls. I'll have to turn it up, but I don't think it's too audible the way that it is. Thinking about it though, white noise machines have gotten a lot more popular in like that time frame. Like say 2014, 2016 till now. It makes sense. Used to be a cardinal sin as like a YouTube vlogger too. So like there's overlap between safe for work and not safe for work, but just find these observations I've collected over the years very interesting. Seems comfortably balled up in that chair. He is. Is Zeke still laying on the floor behind me? Zeke is just, if I move the chair, I think he might move, but he's literally right behind me, curled up. He doesn't seem to be warm though. I have the air still circulating through the house. I don't want to turn on the AC yet. I'm not emotionally or financially ready for that. Which we don't need it yet either. It does make me wonder like how much the zoo actually needs it versus how much I've perceived that the zoo needs it over the years. Because most years I would have kicked it on by now. So it was like 83 yesterday. But everyone was fine. So I think I'm going to try and do more like windows and then like windows at night so we get cooler air. And just the fan. Because I can go without the AC, but I don't like them to. But I've never actually tested what the level of comfort is before, versus making myself very cold in the summer inside. But it's not upset anyone so far. I'll take it. Even the dog room gets a little bit extra warm and no one's panting or upset in there. It's like 2 degrees warmer than the rest of the house. Sneak, sneak, sneak. Sneak, sneak, sneak. Sneak, sneak, sneak. Welcome, Mad Topher. I hope the weekend's been kind to you. It was very warm yesterday. It was very nice today. Well, I shouldn't say very warm. It was warm yesterday. It was very nice today. I just looked at the weather a little bit ago, and I don't even remember what it said. It's gonna be decently warm the next couple of days. And then it'll bop back down to like the high 50s, low 60s. And then by the time this chunk of days comes around again next weekend, we'll be back in the 70s and 80s. Yesterday was gorgeous though. It was very, very nice out. And I was grumpy. So I didn't enjoy the nice weather. And I was also doing digital stuff. So it just... enjoyed it with the doggies though. They liked it. They liked it very much. Ringo was pooped after he did his walk and his yard runs. He laid down next to the Shrek shed and just... wasn't chewing on a spoon this time though, which I appreciate. Hey, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the club. Welcome to the cult. It is. Whatever you want it to be by be. It's a choose your own adventure, and thank you for taking the time to be here tonight. We appreciate you. Is it gonna be warm by you too? We all just having secret summer coming up here? Oh god, where do I want to go for this? Which is the path of least resistance? Well, hello. Hello. Gotta take an ice bath, Midnight Dynamite. Gunther does have the good life. I love him so much. We've been trauma bonding. White Wing Saboteur. Oh snap. Mid to upper 90s, quite a bit above normal. Sheesh. Okay, that's hot. That's not just warm. My dad always says don't complain about the heat because it can always get hotter. But that's hot, as Paris Hilton would say. That's not just warm. You gotta stay cool. Start covering up all the windows now. Keep it nice and cool. If you have a basement, leave it open for the kitties to lay on the concrete floor. It is good to be the king. Tank is the king. He's the king of everything. I love him so much. Him and I have been trauma bonding too. Tank's been so sweet. Almost every day I go in there and instead of just like loving on him normal, I pick him up because I just want to and I can't help it. Intrusive actions. And he's letting me. He's being so sweet. He lets me touch his butt now. He's such a good boy. I love him. I love him so much. He's the best boy. It's my little hubby cubby. Oh, I feel for you, Midnight Dynamite. Basements are nice when it's hot out. 'Cause they stay stable, like 65 degrees. It's nice. When I do a crap ton of yard work in the summer, and I come in and I'm sweaty as balls, I go and cool down in the basement. It's nice. No, you're supposed to be targeting. Girl. Goofy goob. Cat and you trauma bond by staying inside going, ew, gross, there are people within 100 yards of me. Aww. Sweet kitten. Sweet kitten. True side of love, touching butts. He's so sensitive there because he got hit by a car or whatever happened to him. And you guys know that was a no-no zone for a long time. You could only like half pet him. Like you could just lightly stroke the front half. Now you can do full body pets and just, it's nice. It feels good for him and for me. It's a mutual love. I don't know if he's just more comfortable there after like finally building up a good amount of like muscle, fat, healing connective tissues, etc. Or if he just trusts me enough to let me touch his butt now. Because butt touching takes a lot of trust. But I'm very proud of him. It makes me happy that I can give him full body pets. It's important to me and my soul. I don't think I want someone's worn vibro. No, thank you. Butt touching is an important milestone in any relationship. Yes, again, you need trust. You need trust and unconditional love, please don't be an elevator. Need trust and unconditional love for that to exist. Ah, there was an attempt. Yeah, Cytogenics, don't lead the Mad Topher on. You have to be honest and fair and considerate with your intentions. You can't always get what you want. You can't always get what you want. But if you try sometimes, you just might find get what you need. Ooh. Ah! I got frozen! The fuck, Elsa? You little bitch. That was so rude. For shame. For all of the shame. Shame on you and your house, your mother, your family, your territory, your brother, your cousin, your sister, your father, every bit of everything of you. Your dog. No, not your dog. Your dog's probably good if you have a dog. All dogs are good. God. Tough guy. Tough guy. Do I want the blaster? Oh, I don't have enough color crystals. But I will hoard it for a while. And see. See how you feel about that one. Irish curls are really curling tonight. I think we need the big glowy screen. I'm guessing. Pew pew. Okay.
Congratulations.
Time is it? We'll bop in and see Peebs in 15, 30 minutes, something like that. It'll be Peebs o'clock. She is doing so good. She's been perfect today. Her number 2s haven't improved yet, but her number 1s are perfect. I've had 48 hours now, I think, 0 accidents. What? He escaped. I don't understand. Because I don't understand.
Damn son of a sow.
Soon one of your watchers will notice
Son of a sow?
will be asked to find me.
It's an interesting
But I
one.
don't want you as an enemy. Tell your watcher that I remain imprisoned. Once I'm
This is a
dead,
weird storyline
I'll share my
twist.
secrets. You know everything intelligence keeps from its ciphers.
I should trust you?
How do I know you would keep your
Question mark?
You don't. But consider the possibilities.
Just gotta be in sleepaway camp for a little. Yes.
Read myself and watched
I don't know how this is gonna go long term, but we'll figure it out.
Khalil Jones.
You sleazy freak. Think you can play?
I do wonder if, though, once she's clear of the coronavirus, if
All the secrets.
she'll feel like the world is less big when she meets the rest of the zoo, if that kind of makes sense. Oh, the secrets. I'm intrigued.
Tempting offer.
I can guarantee this chance won't come again.
You're kidding.
She's so calm in there, though. Like, she's not being lethargic. It just... I don't know. I always thought she was looking for more stimulation and, like, getting sick of her toys and always mapping around and, like, kind of upset by the amount of space maybe being too small. But I think all of those behaviors have come from it being too big. Like, she has her own little cute routine of playtime and potty time and tablet time and sleepy time, and She's doing excellent in the tent. I don't understand. What's she doing right now? I'm nosy. She just eeping. Just eeping, seeping. Just chilling like a villain. Like, I don't think she was able to physically relax when she was out in the room, which is strange, but I'm sure everyone that we adopt, foster, meet, know will teach me something new, so I'll take it. The rest of the zoo will distract her from her intrusive thoughts, hopefully. That would be ideal. Why so angry?
Shouldn't matter to you.
Why do you care?
Thinks he can play us. No one does that to me. You get that? Not your bosses and not some purebred garbage.
Apologies for interrupting. I have to get to my ship. And you have an incoming call from your master.
We'll see what her needs are as time goes on. It's either the tent is helping or it's just coincidental with the timeline of her steroid, which this would be the timeline for seeing steroid success, which we are seeing. But behaviorally, she just seems so much more in the tent, which is kind of odd to me. I don't know. I always thought, like, cats want a bunch of space to roam, like all of the space in the world is possible, but not PB. Situation resolved.
Cells being destroyed.
That's excellent, but there's something that concerns me. As I was monitoring, I noticed
Excuse me.
network activity.
She's a strange little bean.
It's possible Shadowtown's security was breached. I'm worried about Watcher X. He'd take advantage of a fault like that.
Maybe her happy place is just like Nook's, though.
I just talked to
There
him.
we go.
He's still locked up.
Evil.
I must have made a mistake.
Evil.
That man puts me on edge. I'm sorry you had to work with him.
Stay
Learn to focus on your
profesh.
job, not your feelings.
Keeping a rogue Watcher from running loose in the galaxy is part of my job. I won't trouble you further. I'm knee-deep in new data, and I'm sure you have business left on Nar Shaddaa.
Me too.
Contact me once you've returned to your ship.
I exist tonight because I'm sick of staring at
Piece of filth.
files, but I'm gonna stare at more files tomorrow. Then we'll plan for knock on wood and spin around 3 times and throw salt. Games night on Tuesday. Might have PB stream up tomorrow. Might not. Don't know yet. Depends on what computer I want to move files around on. I was working on my laptop last night, but I might want to be on here just so I can mass dump things tomorrow night. Though I think the old computer is set up for PV streams. I would just need to like run back to it every half hour, so make sure it's not gonna blow up. I haven't done anything to like maintain it or trim up its functionality since we switched over. It's still in a state of duress. Huh? Did I go the wrong way? Oh, use your ship's holocom. Where's my ship? You think I know where my ship is? I don't know where my ship is. Can't go back through the way I came. Mother. You're gonna make me figure this out on my own. Why do you think I have the brain cells for that? It's been physically maintained in the way of no floofles, but in terms of like the hard drive is full as fuck and does it run smooth? Hell no. Is it in need of updates? Hell yes. Is it in need of driver updates? Hell yes. It needs TLC that I have not been giving. Huh? Elevator? Oh, just missed it. Just missed it. Nah, I'm all floofed up. Jeez Louise. I need to clean tomorrow too. Need to vacuum in here. Did the basement yesterday. Need to vacuum in here and then all the way through the kitchen. So basically like all of the upstairs. I don't know. Frick. Push that away. Use your ship's hollow terminal. I don't know where my ship. I don't know where I parked my car. I didn't take a picture of it before I walked away. That's how I find my car when I park in random parking garages or like new places. Take a picture of the spot that I'm at and like my surrounding landmarks and where I am and conjecture to where I need to go so that I can reverse engineer my way back out. If it's a really, really long, complicated hike, like hospital-wise or convention center, I'll just write down my lefts and rights as I go and then reverse order it on my way out. None of this is right. Need to go more up. I don't know where my ship is. Where am I on here? There. Does it even tell me where my ship is? Bitches. I know, put it back. Thank you. Why are you getting into trouble over there? You goober. You boober goober. Key fob car beep sonar. Mine actually doesn't beep unless I'm within like 15 feet of it. It is not a good long range beep. Because last year, like not this year, but last year, 2025, I got lost the first night I was at Exotica because I parked on the wrong side. There's a side of the parking garage that goes to like the movie theater and the other fun stuff that's at the convention center, and then there's a side of it that goes to the Hilton and the convention side of it. And I parked on the wrong side, and I didn't realize that. I thought I was on the right side. Let's try up. I don't know. Thought I was on the right side, and I was very, very wrong. And I panicked, and I could not find my car. And then I finally saw like the split in the distance that I remembered walking around. I was like, oh, I parked on the opposite side. I didn't know. That's why my buddy was trying to tell me like specific instructions this time when I left World of Wheels of like, oh, you're gonna want to go this way and park that way. Because one entrance to the parking garage takes you, if you don't go up the ramp, directly to one side of parking. And if you park on the other side and don't go up the ramp, it takes you to the other side of parking. So I just had to remember which side I don't go up the ramp for, and then it was easy. I didn't actually need help with that. I just needed my own personal remembrance. I don't know where my ship is. Like, I know where to go, I just didn't remember which side to turn in properly on. Not paying attention then, I have other things in my mind. I don't know where to go. Like, does that look like a ship hangar? Fucker. Busy thinking about cars and bobs respectively. not wrong. I don't know where to go. None of this is way. Like, oh, what game? Why would you think that I pay attention? Come on now. We went up the elevator for wherever we went, though. I think, or did we meet it at the bottom? Ow! That was immensely weird! I, like, blew up into my cheek, like, confusedly, and it made something twinge in my neck over here. How the fuck does that even happen? Welcome, Jasmine. I hope you're having a good night so far. How I am is confuddled. How did that even happen? Maybe we did start off down? I don't know. That was strange. I feel like I remember starting off on top though, because I didn't want to jump down it. Fudge. Elevators? Did we take elevators at some point? Oh, this is like a simulation of being lost in Convention Center. Did I take an elevator over here? Did I do that? Did I go this way? Did I go that way? I wonder what that would feel like. Oh, it's all fluffy. Jeez. Running the air purifier fan in here has floofed up the world. Oh, don't want to get it caught in my hair. Oh, it really doesn't work as like a personal massager. Or I'm just numb there. I don't know. I think I'm kind of numb there. I really don't feel it. Just kidding. It does work, but I'm numb-ish there. I can feel it elsewhere, though. It's the weirdest feeling in the world. Doot, 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 doot. Can I feel it on this side? I can feel it. Maybe there is a nerve issue, apparently. Did I just pull or pinch one by doing whatever I did with that? Strange twinge does sound like nerve things. Apparently it's possible. That's so weird. I can like feel it in my hand. I can feel it like far away, like deep in my neck, but not like surface level. It's probably still not a bad idea to like run this on it for a moment though. That's interesting. Yeah, now it's like unnumbing and kind of hurts, so maybe I should stop. I appreciate the experimental hour. Buzz buzz. Buzz buzz, I'm a bee. Still haven't tried one of these for lymphatic drainage yet. I need to. Ah! Ran away. Got away from me. Need to put one in my bedroom. Now, rubbing one out is good for the soul. That's so weird. Is it swollen? Doesn't feel swollen, but it feels tighter than the other side. I don't know. My neck did hurt a little extra when I woke up this morning. But I know I woke up this morning sleeping like a fucking gremlin. I was curled in like that, like majorly head tucked. That's weird. I love these fun little things we discover on stream. It reminds me of the movie Robots. I know this place like the back of my hand. Oh, that's new. Don't ask me to quote any more of that. I only saw it once. That was in the trailer that they played way too often on TV. It was a cute movie. I can't really tell you much about it. Oh, wait, we traveled here. Excuse me. Do we need to go to the travel thing or the elevator? The travel? Wouldn't that be lit up though? But that's where we, excuse me, came in. Let's try that. We're using brain cells tonight, Club Cult. I don't have any. You are a slopey slope. A slopey slope indeed. Shadow Town. The Shadow Realm. Ringo's celebrity name of the day is Yu-Gi-Oh! Because when we go outside, it's time to poop 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 poop. Silly little boy. I was walking him behind like the stupidest person today. Like, people generally, I don't know, if you're being small, I walk fast. And people usually are like on the phone or like just leisurely walking their dogs. Like, when I walk my dogs, they're doing a job. It's not a leisurely walk. If you want to be leisurely and sniff around, that's what the yard is for. But like, walk is work time. We lock in. And when I turned the corner, there's a woman in front of us on the sidewalk that I usually walk. So I was like, okay, they're just taking their sweet ass time. So I go to the other side, and then she stops, like our dog has to go to the bathroom, and then we're almost passing her. And then she just cuts through the road to walk in front of us on the other side. And we're like 20 feet away from each other, and she's like this little schnauzer thing, and I have big giant Ringo. Like, what the fuck, you stupid lady? So we go back to the other side of the sidewalk that we usually walk on, and it was just baffling. I want to know what was going through her head, that like she needs to be walking her tiny dog in front of me and my large dog. I don't know if I was irked by it or just confused, probably a combination of both, but like, God, was that stupid. Both of us changed sides of the street and still ended up together. Like, why? Walking with a purpose is the only way to walk, otherwise it's a stroll. I mean, when I'm feeling extra tired, we'll have a bit of a stroll. Oh, that was not right. But most times I try to make walk into work. Like, they have a purpose of what they're doing. Diesel, we do drills while he's walking so that he remembers that he has to listen. So anytime at random, I'll sit down, slow. Then we'll do like grandma and grandpa walks. Do like 10 feet of just heel toe, heel toe, heel toe, heel toe, heel toe. Like, just kind of conditioning. And then Ringo, he's too excitable to ever be a service dog. But with him, I'll give him certain points where I tell him, okay, take me to the corner. And then he takes me to the, I let his leash rather loose, but still holding it. And he takes me to the corner, and then he stops, and then he looks at me, and then we get to a certain point before home. But like about to turn the corner, we're working on like moving that distance back. But he'll take me home for like a good 50 feet. So I can just close my eyes and follow him, and he will take me to the yard, which I think is wonderful. I mean, like, heaven forbid I ever, like, fall and crack my head open and, like, can't see. He'll take me home. He knows what to do. Home, James! Such a good boy. All you hear in your head is the Stroll by the Diamonds. Aw, oops. He looks so professional in his vest harness. He does, and he still wears it. It just doesn't have the service dog stickers on it anymore, because he gets too happy when he sees men. I think we've missed our training window, and I think I paid for that pointlessly, but that's okay. We can do our own training. I don't know where to go. I'm lost and I have to pee and I want to use my ship's bathroom, but I can't find it, and just... We're gonna stand here for a moment. I'm gonna take a tinky break and, we'll figure out where our ship's hollow terminal is. I'm gonna scream. I don't know where this motherfucking thing is. Elevator? Elevator is my next best guess. Service dog may have been his calling. He has the propensity for it. He just can't control his excitement when seeing other people. Otherwise, he would be perfect to, like, shift into the role of, at most, an emotional support dog. But his emotional support becomes, let me climb all over you and lick your face off. And that's fine if it's Pippi, because she's 20 pounds. But it's not fine when you're 120 pounds. But Ringo is very smart in that way. There have been times that we've been walking at night and, like, he sees something suspicious or smells something suspicious and wants to take me to... I'm afraid of spiders and bugs, which we know. So at night we walk in the street versus the sidewalk because there are bugs that hang down from trees like spiders. And I don't want to walk into those. It's a little less nerve-wracking in the street, and there's really not too many people driving at night. Although when you do see them, they're usually driving fast, and that's upsetting. But on the flip side from that, where was I even going with that? Oh, when we've been walking at night, he's very, very mindful of things. Like, if he seems sketched out by a car, he'll want to change lanes. If there's a car, which makes sense. I mean, he was a street dog before he was a house dog. If there's a car coming, then he'll naturally move us over to the side. There was one night last year where there was a coyote way up at the end of the other block. So, like, nowhere near that it would be considered a threat. But he saw it way before I did and stopped and put himself in front of me. And he did not want to continue to walk forward, which was very cool of him. He's very, very smart. Service horse. I wish I could just jump on his back sometimes, but I weigh too much, even though he weighs a lot. You don't see coyotes very often unless they're sick or it's breeding season. When it's breeding season, like around this time of year, and then occasionally in the fall, like if that's just the random heat cycle window or whatever, then they're out and about because they're hunting more for their kids. Otherwise, they really just keep to themselves. Welcome, Nikki. I hope you're having a good night so far. He does look so professional, his vest harness. Maybe when he gets all of his puppy yayas grown out, he'll have some official capacity to be an ESA, but I think he'll always be a little bit too excitable. Not that he's not trainable to be any kind of full service dog. We don't see coyotes very much, just enough. Like, there have been a lot of sightings lately because it's their breeding season. Now I really gotta pee. I'll be right back. That's my fault, though. I went off on my own tangent. Mr. Gunther, you're so cute. You're so cute. Where's my ship? For as happy, silly-go-lucky, and puppyish as Ringo is, he really does have like a mother hen kind of mentality. He's very nurturing. I don't know where my ship is. This is no. Oh. Return to your ship in the Narashada spaceport and contact Watcher 2. In Narashada spaceport, which is where? It wasn't him, but
Vehicle pads are currently open for business.
none of those are gonna be the thing.
Have a safe and pleasant stay.
Shut up. I'm not in the mood for your pleasantries, sir. I don't know where my fucking ship is. Let's try the elevator. I don't fucking know. Why do they think I'd memorize my surroundings? His name was Path. It's Pac. There's a bouncing question mark on the map screen. Oh! I don't know. Oh, that's just tutorials. Out of 41. I'm not clicking through all of, well, yes I am, because maybe it'll tell me how to go back to your ship. Don't know. I don't know where I parked. I'm having IRL flashbacks. I don't know where the fuck I parked. Parked somewhere. I don't know where, but somewhere. I feel like there's probably a teleport back to the ship button. We'll see once we get through 41 pages of this. From the galaxy map, perhaps. World map. Galaxy map. No, no, no. Back. That's the secondary primary mission. It said my ship is... Let's try that. Oh, current location. Oh, purchase the legacy perk. Priority transport personal starship. This perk will allow you to quickly shuttle to your personal starship. It costs money if you're not smart. Like many things in life. You pay the dumbass tax. Ah. Fork. I don't know where my ship is. I don't know. Pardon. Pardon. Back when you played SWTOR, you had to buy the game, so that's what you remember. It was probably included when you had to buy it at that point. I've only ever played it while it's been free to play. Oh. And go back the way you came. Well, I don't know which way I came from. You've reached a new level of lost. Achievement unlocked. Achievement very unlocked. Keep looking a little bit. We either get there or we don't before we bop in with peeps. I got nothing here. I have no clue. No clue whatsoever. I would imagine that one of the flight paths would be at the starport, though. I'm not a professional Star Warsian traveler. I'm just gonna try until we run out of tries and then Google it. That looks hangery, maybe. No? I don't think so. Oh, okay. What was the sound? I liked it. Good, because that's all I've got. I ain't got no shit. Just got that. That's all I got going for me. Travel station again, because why not? We came in on a taxi thing. That I vaguely remember. Where do I think I'm going? I don't know. What a mess. I think you were a ramp. Yes. Good. Good environment. I don't know what taxi I came from, though. But maybe I didn't read them close enough when I was up there. I was reading under duress. And I'm still under duress, but now I've realized I'm potentially at a point of just needing to Google that shit, so I'm less stressed. There's an answer somewhere. You! Where did I come from?
Please select an available travel route.
Where may we have come from? We're at the upper promenade at some point. I have no idea. We have Carillion Sector Taxi. What on here looks like it has ships? The Mazzenti Spaceport Taxi. The Duros Sector Taxi. The Star Cluster Casino Taxi. The Lower Promenade Taxi. The Upper Promenade Taxi. The Upper Industrial Sector Taxi. The High Profile Ward Taxi. And then where we are. Shut up! Turn to your ship in the Nar Shaddaa spaceport and contact the Watcher 2 via your ship's holo terminal. Where? Where? Oh my god. Oh, I love that. The Journey of Sharina Hulk. Oh, you stinky butt.
Vehicle pads are currently open for business.
Well, what looks like it might be a spaceport. I'm afraid to go to the wrong place because then I'm gonna be even more turned around. Like here, at least I kind of know where I am. Maybe the promenade. I know that when we traveled here, there was like a layover. Like it went over 2 arrows. Were we at the casino? I know we were at some point last time. Gunther senses my frustration and is coming in for the emotional support. Spaceport taxi? Oh, did I miss the word? Ah! Good catch. Good catch. Okay, there we go. Thank you for being a good listener. Because I am not a good reader. Did you want uppies? Hi. Your nose is so goob. I feel so bad. I have to pick his nose again. I already picked it once today. You pick your nose. Meh. Meh. I know. I'm sorry. I know. I'm sorry. Just real quick. You go squirming around for it, and that's even harder to do. I know. I'm sorry. Okay. Now I give you lap. We're okay. He may not want to sit in my lap. He might be mad at me now. I just shoved my fingers up his nose. Yeah, he's mad. I'm sorry, Gunther. I can't just let your nose fill up with boogers. Doesn't work that way. Still doesn't really tell me shit. But let's just go off of an assumption that something is correct somewhere. Sith Inquisitor, hangar elevator. Imperial Agent, hangar elevator. Sith Warrior, hangar elevator. Bounty Hunter, hangar elevator. Would that be in ships that straight before? I would think there would be a pink thing on the map that would be telling me, hey, your ship is here. There's not. And I have concerns. I'm the Imperial Agent? What's possible? You want the farmost further one? Maybe. I don't think you're wrong, I just don't think I'm right. Why does the game think that I would know what I'm doing? That's not right, that's not fair, that's not correct. That isn't valid. There's a shit. Doesn't look like my ship. It's my ship. I don't think my ship was pink. I don't really remember what it looked like at all, to be honest. I just remember being in awe of it. This feels like a different door. Oh, never mind. We found the ship. Cytogenics gets a round of applause for that one. The price for lap time is pretty high. I ruined it. Gunther was being so sweet. He was coming in for emotional support. Then I had to pick his nose. Now he's bathing away the memories of it. Okay, we found the way. Let's listen to the hollow terminal. Whenever we get there from somewhere. Then we'll bop over to Peebs for a few.
Secure transmission established. This is Watcher 2. I'm glad you checked in, Cypher. Chatter has increased among the surviving cells, and it's
Also playing the rebel character with a different ship to add even more confusion to the mix. That's true. I do have 2 ships. The Eagle's not to
handle
prep.
anything he throws at us.
I hope you're right. The Eagle only needed one cell to bomb the Dominator and assassinate Darth Jadus. For what's coming, he's using the entire...
I did not anticipate that handicap.
The messages we've intercepted are frustrating.
I was very, very able to tell the difference between my horses with characters in Neverwinter, but I don't know the difference between my ships in here. Go on.
Idea what an eradicator is.
A weapon of some
What's
sort.
this?
What's
this?
A laser? A virus? I don't know. Not much to be done at the moment.
It's awfully broad.
Taking the Terra network apart. As you eliminate the larger cells, we can identify more terrorist activity centers. Eliminate enough, and the network will lose cohesion.
Excuse me.
Now
Acknowledged.
proceed to the next cell.
I'll do everything I can from here. It's been 4 days since I stepped outside the Citadel. But I'm in no hurry. I'll be in touch. Watcher 2 out.
Okay. When are you going back to that other part of the story mission though? Like, at some point? Or is that what we've got now? I need to start listening when she's talking. Whoops. That's the big one that we have in queue right now, so let's go for that. Where's... Where's the galaxy map? We're gonna go to Balmora. Take a little flight and then go see PB. The executive is settling back in. Oh, he is. Cozy. Bath time. Cozy boy. Is Zeke still behind me? No. Where is Zeke? Oh, he's up on the tree.
What's the situation?
Tell me about my target. What?
Sorry about that, Cypher 9. Welcome to the Eastern Galactic Front. This whole star system is a crisis point. Republic and Empire are testing one another's strength. Meanwhile, the terrorists lurk in the middle.
I'm getting the picture.
Isn't it?
Exactly right.
Not getting much chance to be annoyingly questionative tonight.
Balmora is their training ground.
That's okay, but
Cell
like...
members recruit, instruct, and arm new terrorists here. Fresh soldiers destined for other points in the network. It's a vital part of the system.
Why haven't you
Imperial
stopped them?
Intelligence is aware of this. Why hasn't anything been done?
We knew of the Balmoran situation, but we didn't know the depth of the problem, and it didn't seem urgent at the time. To dismantle the terror cell there, you'll need local support. I'm alerting one of our officials to your presence. The colonel
Jacket
now
doesn't
offers
match my
station
outfit.
in Sobrik, the Imperial settlement where you landed. He runs intelligence operations on Balmora and can brief you more thoroughly.
Is there more
Anything
I should
else?
know?
Bernard runs his affairs out of the back of an arms dealership. He'll be waiting for you when you arrive. Move quickly on this one, Cypher 9, and watch what you say. If things go bad, you'll have half a planet gunning for you.
Okay. Guessing we just exit the ship upon our return. I would suppose. Oh, I unplugged that and it was tight. Almost fell over. That would not have been ideal. PB time. Just gotta give her a little 20-30 minute break from tent time. The first day and today. Yesterday I snoozed in a little bit with Tank. She's free like while I'm napping in there with her, and she still had 0 accidents then. Like, I don't know how, and I don't know how we'll really figure out a way to maintain this mentality long term, but I am so relieved that she's doing better. And again, it could have nothing to do with the tent and like physically and everything to do with the steroids, but mentally she seems, I thought she was just being a crazy kitten. I don't know, crazy kittens be crazy. But she seems very much more at ease, which I'm carefully monitoring to make sure it doesn't cross over into like a state of lethargy, but she's being a pretty chill little potato. I'm very proud of her. Very proud of the peebs. She's not peeing a million little blueberries every day in the litter box now. She's having normal sized peas. I'm very proud of that girl. You can ask for a lot in life, but being able to pee well, that's something I think we all maybe take a little for granted and would be upset if it were not the case. I need to pull up chat on here. I'm gonna flip us over. Lose audio for a sec. Blurp. Gunther has taken over. First world pee problems, exactly. I'm just so proud of her for doing better, and I'm so relieved that we're finding solutions. So I guess now that the steroids are working well, we'll probably find like a staggered regimen for them. I think it'll probably end up being like every other day. That's usually about how it goes for cats. Because you don't want to stress out their organs with steroids, and she's a baby. We don't want to stress them out big either. But once we're on that cycle, we'll try and figure out like what the environmental factors are. And see how we can keep her most comfy. Very, very curious though if this is gonna solve her like little kitty IBS. Like it wouldn't cure her of the coronavirus, but if it solves her little kitty IBS after being on it for a little bit longer. She did go like a day and a half without pooping. This is all important information that you guys need to know, right? But then she went today finally, and she was still at her normal, which is not normal. Might work a little, but yeah, I don't know. Taking notes. That makes 2 of us. We're both writing in PB's logbook, apparently. Sits riveted. Well, I know, everyone comes into stream just for the daily. It's not for me. It's for the daily progress report of PB's poops and peas. That's what we're really here for. It has nothing to do with my presence. We're only here for that information. I want a sip of water. I put you guys in my pocket. Gunther, be in charge. Just want her to be able to be healthy and happy, and then spade, and then continue to be healthy and happy. I have the light off in the hallway, and it's very dark and creepy out here. Hello, Miss Peeberoon. Miss Peeberoon, the doubloon. I was reminded of that word from just scrolling on Twitter when I woke up this morning. Doubloon. Now I've been calling her Pabloon, the doubloon, and various different variants of it throughout the entire day. Tankeroni is a macaroni, Guntheroni is a macaroon, or Guntheroon. No, Guntheroni the macaroni, Tankeroon the macaroon, and PB is a doubloon. She's just a little baby doubloon. Oh, that was like really tight. I always wonder about like my past stream time strength for things like that sometimes. Like she's not even itching to get out of here. She's just like, oh, cool, mom's here. I'll scratch on my tree. Like, it's very weird to me. Which I'm a very weird person, so like I get it, but it's very weird getting no incidents. Put Peeps in charge over here. She's so funny. The first thing she does every time she crawls out of her crate is she goes up to that tree and does a big scritch and stretch. It's like, okay, nap time's over. I'm gonna see what the status of her litter box is. She's eating wet food, like, consistently, finally, again, too. Well, not again, because she's never done it, but finally, consistently. She's eating the cans that Papa Voya left for her. I love you. You not want up. You want to be an explorer of the world. See, I was just contained. Don't contain me more. Okay, there you go. There you go. Little goob. I love you. I thought you were looking for uppies. That was my bad. Let's see what your status of the last 4-ish hours was. Oh, that's a good girl. That's good stuff, lady. Bravo. Bravo. That's a normal size pea, and we love to see it. We love to see it. Where did you go, though? A little skulky shrimp. Another thing since she's been in the tent, too, is she's now less clingy. Like, I don't know if she's just exploring the room right now, or... well, she's actually bathing herself behind the chair. But she's less, like, psychotically glued to me, which in general is a good thing. That means she's feeling more comfortable being independent. I thought she just really loved me before, and that's why she was kind of glued to me. Which, true, yes. But she was seeking me out as a safe place, more than likely. And now she has this, which is a safe place. So it changes the dynamic. She's still snuggly when we nap in here, but she's less obsessed with the idea of my presence when I come in. She just does her little rounds, plays a little bit. Come here, sis. Wants a little bit of love. That's really it. Her life is fantastically simple at this point in time. Hi. You got your bird TV going on. You got everything, girlfriend. You probably use a little extra water. She drinks a little bit more with the steroid, but her appetite really hasn't increased, which is a little surprising, but well, maybe it has, because she's eating the wet food and her normal amount of dry food, so I guess it has increased a little bit too. I did find one of my plug-in feel-away diffusers, and I put that plugged in here as well. Like, we are pulling out all the stops here. We are trying everything. I don't know what she's stressed about, but she's stressed. It does make me wonder, though, and I typed this on her stream last night, I wonder if, like, mom had, if she got into the routine of whatever was going on with mom, and if she had siblings, and then maybe she moved the litter, like, probably moved them a few times, but PB was probably too small, whatever the first couple times would have been. I wonder if at that point she tried to go back to, like, her familiar place and scent, and, like, left where mom relocated them to. I wonder. Because she seems to be very into the idea of having her own personal little safe place. Serena's less of a safe space and now more of a heater. Yeah. Still my little spoony bean, wherever she wandered off to now. But she doesn't really, she wants to hang out in the morning. Evening time, she doesn't really care about my presence. She just wants to, like, be out for a little bit, and that's really it. I think the only thing she misses about having the full room is window time. She loves doing window time after snuggles in the morning. It's hard to know. I feel like it's hard to track that kind of information. I would agree. It's too many variables. Why are you just staring into there? Goofy? Just gonna pop out of the other chair in a second, I think. Think she'll be over there in a moment. But she just seems so much more chill, like less frantic. And that's good. I thought her frantic behavior was just being a crazy kitten, because kittens is crazy, but she's apparently an old soul, and that was frantic behavior. But you've been accident-free through day 3. And that's pretty amazing. I'm very proud of her. Round of applause to Peeps. So hopefully this will sort everything out. We won't have to look into an ultrasound to look for something else wrong, because the ultrasound likely won't show anything. It's always possible it will, but likely it won't show anything congenital. Hey, the baby girl. And then get her spayed ASAP. Your bird's talking to you. There was a bear, a little baby bear, on PB's bird stream sometime yesterday through the evening. Oh my goodness. It was just casually eating at like the little trough they have set out. It was bonkers. Like, what the fuck is that thing? I'm like, it's a bear. It's a baby bear. Hey, peepers. This one does go like all the time live though. It's not always sunshiny like the one I had on for voya. I was like, are you in the part of Sweden where it doesn't get dark for a lot of the year? Oh my goodness. Baby black bear? I don't know. I didn't look at it long enough to like really truly realize. It was mostly black but had like some brown tinges to it. Kind of like Ringo, where like not truly brindle, but not fully black, if that makes sense. I don't know. Bear TV isn't too many letters away from bird TV, I suppose. Well, the critter one that I like watching on Twitch, that Voya used to really love, they have all kinds of wildlife come through. They've had like little bears, they have raccoons, they have deer, like they have everything come through there. At least they did at their old location. They moved and they have the stream set up again, but I don't know like if they moved far and the wildlife is different. I haven't looked too much at it since they've moved. But I'm used to seeing all the creatures on there, and here I just usually see birds and squirrels, and all of a sudden there's a bear. I'm surprised. I'm glad I am on this side of the screen and not on that side of the screen. That's ideal. Probably a black bear. They can look brown, which makes them their name a bit of a misnomer. Well, true black is like not common in nature. Like even most horses, when they genetic test what looks like a true black horse, it ends up being a chestnut or a bay. I believe. I'm not the most what's the word I'm looking for? Educated, I guess, on horse DNA. But I follow a lot of horse accounts on Instagram, so I theoretically learn a lot of random things. The DNA test for it is color testing. And it'll just show their different gene markers of like what's truly black versus not. You're such a little creeper. I don't think she's gonna be accidenty, but I'm trying to mind her little movements just in case. Just in case. She's just booping around. I mean, the point isn't necessarily for us to interact in these visits. It's more like for her to establish a sense of safety that, like, she's safe in here alone and then she's safe out here because I'm present. I think that's the psychology behind it, more or less, kind of. I don't know. Trial and erroring. See how she goes so weird with her back end? It like takes a moment to catch up. It's very interesting. Your hair looks black, but it's just very dark brown. I bet in the sun you can tell like the slight difference, but I know exactly what you mean. Welcome, Caffeine Star. My sub menu is on the side of the screen. Little scrolly bitty. Oh, you're right over here. She's such a little squirrel. He just bebops everywhere. It's so funny. It's so funny. I think she's just naturally a calm, leaning cat unless she's stressed out. And I feel so bad for not realizing the room was stressful. But it makes sense, the timeline of her being in here and being free. About 2 weeks after that, she had like sporadic accidents, but it was just like, oh, it's probably because like you're having other issues, and it just got worse and worse and worse and worse the longer she was free out in here. And this works. It's very bizarre. It's very bizarre. She's a strange bird, but I'm glad this is working for her. It's just different. It's just very different. If it's not on the menu, you can either message me about it on OF or it's just not on the menu. There are 2 options of answers to that. Where do you go, little stinky? She's behind one of the chairs. She's silly. Silly, silly. Silly, 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 silly. Oh, she put her... PB decides that her toys are hungry and thirsty sometimes. Some cats just do that. I don't know. Like they're taking care of it or something. I don't think we quite understand the motive behind it yet. But she put one of these in her water earlier and I left it out to dry. She can have that back. She loves her springs. She's silly. Peeves, where are you and what are you doing? Oh, she's stalking me from over there. That's what she's doing. I think she's gonna fly over the couch at me at some point. Peekaboo. Peekaboo. She's behind like 2 panels of the tubs. I don't think we can see. She's right over there, behind there. Peekaboo. 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 I was playing peekaboo with Void earlier too. Void likes it. Peekaboo. Peekaboo. Her babies never really got into it. They didn't like care about understanding the concept of peekaboo, but she does. We were playing peekaboo around the kitchen island. It's like, poof. And she was feeling a little playful, so she's like making this face at me every time I turned back. It was hilarious. Yeah, I'm out and I want to play. She just doesn't know what she wants to do to play. She's like, oh God, I'm back out in the big world. What do I do? Do I stay or should I go? Or should I stay or should I go? That kind of mentality, I think. Like right now, she was stalking me, and now she doesn't know what she wants to do. She's like looking at the vastness of it all. Void is a kitten. She is at heart. She's baby. She's a very good example of beak. She never got to be baby, and she's very much baby now, which is interesting because Charlie, I feel, is very like hardened by her time as a mother. But again, Charlie only had 1 litter. At Void, this was probably at least, there she is, her 3rd litter. I would think, at the very least, her second, if not her third litter. I would think it would have been her third litter based on her street time outside and when I saw her periodically. Little baby girl, you want couch time? You want couch time or window time? She might want window time. I don't know. We shall see. But I love that Void is willing to regress back to her baby phase and be a silly goose like that. Aw, we are doing some couch time. That's my girl. That's my girl. Couch time. Couch time. That's my baby. We got boogies. There. Oh yeah, make the biscuits. Okay, couch time is over. Oh, that was... Oh, no, we're coming back. Round two. Round two. I think she actually wants window time. Come here, Biba. Bibi. PB does not understand the concept of being called. Like, she does not understand what it means to be beckoned. Come here. It's a baby girl. She's like giving me slow blinks, like I understand, but no thank you. Window time. All the clocks in front of the curtains there. There you go. Window time is priority. Priority number one, apparently. Swear couch time is followed by that large scary tube. That's another thing I'm trialing is I stopped the CBD. Because it can cause like digestive upset. But I kind of needed to know like her true mental level of what is bothering her or not. And she's been off the CBD for about 3 days now. I think she got a dose the morning of me setting up the tent. This is day 3 of the tent being out. And she's doing fine without it. So it was probably helping a little bit out here, but she did start to get intimidated by seeing the tube. Now she's getting a little annoyed with me shoving pills down her throat, but you gotta take your meds. Pills are good. Just bebopping. Bebopping, show stopping. No, we're not gonna climb on there. She's good about taking meds, but that tube was very intimidating for her. It's too big. It's as big as or bigger than she is. Goofy. Now you're behind the couch somewhere. She's just a little gremlin. I love her. I love her so much. She's a silly little bean. It's a very silly little bean. Where did you go off to now? Every time I think I know she's somewhere in front of me, she's actually behind me. She's just a much more quiet soul with all of this. This is just a very different concept for me. I'm used to cats like being more comfortable with more space to roam than less space to roam. So I'm still mentally wrapping my head around all of this. She's under the chair over there. I thought she was behind the couch over here. She's gremlin creeping. Gremlin creeping. And there she goes. I thought she wanted to play with the toy for a minute, but I guess no. I guess no. Imagine a cement mixer pulling up and just someone saying, "Time for your meds." Yeah, that's probably comparable to the feeling of it. Like, for her to take it, like, with her mouth open, she couldn't really lick it, and she didn't want to lick it on her own, so you had to, like, push it up against the side of her lip. And that's probably a weird feeling for a cat. I can't imagine they would be okay with that long term. I wouldn't want someone coming up to me and just going, "Whoop." You're so silly. And peekaboo again. Peekabooing. Peek. Peek. I don't know if she'll jump up or not. Peek. time to peek. Hi. It's so funny. She just looks around the side like, huh? It's hilarious. I love her. She's so adorable. PB, I love you. You are my sweet baboo. My sweet baboo. Here you go, Tinky. You're gonna hang out with Club Colt for a minute. How's that sound? Say, okay. Sounds like a plan, Mom. I don't know what she'll do, but here, have some couch time with the world's most giant potty pads, Club Colt. We went for the extra, extra large ones this round, which was a good choice. I can just cut them in half if I need the regular size ones. No, I'm right here. You're okay. Come here, Monk and Zika. Hello. Hello, baby gremlin. Hello, baby gremlin. She's like, I don't want this, but I like this. I love you. You can bop back in. There you go. She's like, okay, time to eat. You're just gonna tense your whole life, girl. I would assume that this will work itself out. Like the tent safety thing. One, when she's integrated with the zoo, and two, when she's larger, like she just grows into herself and her mindset and like becomes mature, then she won't be in like a frantic kitten state. I don't know. You're a very strange girl, PB. You're a very, very strange girl. Very strange. Learn something new every next cat. I really do, though. It's interesting. She's happy with it. I'm just still coming to terms with like that this is the best solution for now. I don't know. I covered the furniture in plastic and like this is what works. I could have just done that instead. Could have saved $15 or 10 plus $17. The large one for the couch was $7. The other two were $5. You don't need a view of the bathroom. Gunther is good enough. Gunther is more than good enough. Gunther is perfect. Bless you. Bless you. Bless your soul. Bless your sweet southern soul. Oh, he's a good boy. He's like, oh my god, the aggressive pets. What the heck, Mom? What the heck, Mom? Back to the control center. Audio. Blurp, blurp. Hey, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the club. Welcome to the cult. It is whatever you want it to be by B. It was a choose your own adventure, and thank you for taking time to be here tonight. Get this plugged in. Not that. This. Hey, baby. Welcome, Lusk. Ship exit? Doot doot. Doot doot doot. Think. Maybe. To choose your own adventure. It's whatever you want it to be.
You and me? Getting good.
We are in a location that we are supposed to be in. Look at us. I am so proud. Of which way am I going? There we go. Where in the far over are you having me travel to? Oh, I see. Around. Around, around. Going without knowing. It's 99% of my streams. Now you're just extra in the know of the knowing and knowing without going. I'm perpetually lost. Perpetually lost. That throws me every time, and I don't know why. PB floofs from schnozzles. Serena floofs from humidities. It is fluffy weather. No, you don't need to tell me things. I just don't know if that will ever be important. Back to the giant statue realms. In the middle of a what? Tip tap toes. We're hustling. Getting our steps in. Door. A door and SWTOR. Up? Not up. The elevator. I think. Yes. Something about arms and demolitions. Talk to me.
Let me take a look at you. You're one of Keeper's girls, eh? Well, I'm glad he finally sent someone. Pity it took a disaster to get headquarters' attention.
You're talking about the attack on Drummond Cars.
Disaster's the only word for it. Thousands
Disaster.
of Dark Council member assassinated.
Disastrous.
Hard to believe the Empire's come to this. But here, I'm being a poor host. Have a drink. Settle in after your trip. This shop doesn't look like much, but it's secure.
What is the shop anyway?
This is an odd place to work from.
The shop front's a necessary deception. The Republic and the terrorists have people everywhere.
My hair is very green in whatever the light of this room is. It's nice.
Rather than calling secret informants
Very
into
nice.
a military base, I speak to them here, and no one's the
I can
wiser.
forgive the jacket for that.
These terrorists you're after, they've been a thorn in my side for a long while. They're worse than the Republic in some ways.
Oh.
Why do you say that?
Familiarity. The terrorists know Balmorra. The Republic doesn't, at least not as well. This terror cell is homegrown, made up of Balmorrans unhappy with the Empire's rule. I suspect the Republic
He's still up
tacitly
in the
supports
tree.
the terrorists,
Aw,
but their
yes.
common enemy.
He's curled
So
up
we
like
do
a
our best to
snail.
cope with the bombings and sabotage.
How?
What's your response been so far?
The governor makes an example of a few dozen Balmorans after each attack, but it doesn't have much of an effect. Meanwhile, I've been studying the terror cell's structure, and there's good news. If we can take out the local leader, the cell should fall apart.
Really?
What makes you so sure?
Experience, Agent. Experience and age. The terrorists call the man in charge Grey Star. He runs the cell, gives the orders, and knows all the secrets. They claim Grey
Oh, that felt
Star
good.
used to work with the Eagle, but who can be sure? Only the high-ranking cell members know Grey Star's identity.
More
Do you have
information.
any theories about Greystar?
I don't need more theories, I need proof. I have a mole inside the terrorist cell already. He's a good lad, no cipher though. He can bring you in. You'd have the opportunity to impress the terrorists, win their trust.
Surely you can't be serious. I am
So,
serious.
I suppose it's a
Don't call me
terrorist.
Shirley.
Isn't that what cipher agents do? Zanju Pine, my operative, can introduce you to the terrorist recruiters at the Troika military workshop outside the safe zone. But be careful how you present yourself. If the terrorists suspect you're Imperial, you'll lose Grey Star. And your lives.
Dun dun dun. Dun 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 dun. Oh, was that incorrect? That was, I guess. That was impulsive. That was very impulsive. I saw it a handful of times growing up. My dad likes that movie, but I don't think I've actually watched it as an adult. I think I'm going the long way. Most definitely. I don't remember much of the storyline other than it's funny and they come out on the rubber floaty thing at the end and like the pivotal lines within it. The end always made me laugh so hard as a kid though. Did I go too far? I think it's this taxi way over there. Taxi. Taxi. What the fuck are you riding around? Poof.
At your service, sir.
Poof.
En route is
Maybe I
confirmed.
should start remembering our starting points. PB flew all over my face. She's losing her outdoor coat, and she's foofing up a storm. And I snuggle into her face so hard. Airplane will have to go on the list for one of my more sleepy, oh no, Serena's too zonked to stream nights. I'm sure there's a number of those incoming. You have discovered. Well, isn't that just magical? Why is the inn, like, right here? Where are you telling me to go? Is there an inn that I missed? Maybe. The fact that it's almost entirely based on disaster drama 0 Hour. Is that a show or a movie? I did not know that. That's cool. No. Too close. Non-selectable. Bitch, what the fuck are you telling me? Pardon. It's free with ads on YouTube. Airplane is or 0 Hour is? Oh, you're telling me to go around. Around. Maybe. No? No. It was a valiant effort. What the fork? Where are you telling me to go? Who's this person I need to speak to? Nonsensical. Yeah, I don't think we want to jump over that. Airplane is free with ads on the tubes. Nice. Maybe it's somehow the building behind there? I don't think so. Show me with specificity. It's not in the wall. Do I need to go that way? I don't think I'll even survive that jump. I just want to know if that's the door. They ended up using enough lines from 0 Hour that they felt they had to buy the rights for it if they didn't want to risk litigation. Oh my god. That's a lot of commitment to creating the movie Airplane. It was worth it. It's a good movie. Bro sad. Oh. Poor bro. I don't think you're telling me to go somewhere else. No. I'm not a traveler. Is there a way down? I don't know. Let us try. You are not talk-toable people. That's completely back to the other outskirt biddies. Where the fork do you want me to go? I'm gonna die. No, I'm not. Look at that. Perfect. No, now I'm further away from the thing. Maybe. I feel like that was both right and wrong. I don't know. Airplane 2 wasn't that bad either. It's kind of more of the same jokes, but there's some new ones that were funny. I don't remember watching that one, but I'm sure we did. Number 2s just don't generally hold up as well as number 1s do. Sad. My god, you gotta be shitting me. I really had to jump down here. Lord, we've reached another closed door. What the fork? Open up! Open up! It's so misleading. Oh. Doors are invisible to me. Doorways, apparently. Main takeaway from Airplane 2 is William Shatner was in it. Aww. I definitely do not remember that. Is 2 a shorty slash what I consider a normal length movie, like the first one? Probably fit 2 into one night if I'm extra snuggly with the zoo.
Don't waste my time, Sanju. You're lucky to even be here.
Got you those scramblers, didn't I? Come on, Kimmish, you owe me. Maybe not big time, but you owe me.
When's the last time you did an operation for us?
What? Come on, we've been over this.
It's around 90 minutes, so a normal length movie, in my opinion.
Do you think...
Hey, someone finally made it. It's great to meet you in person. This is the group I was telling you about. I think you'll get along with them real well. Better than I do, hopefully.
I think I have to be nice to him.
I've been looking forward to meeting your friends.
That sounds so forced. Been looking forward to meeting your friends.
Uh-huh. Sanju says you fought the Imperials at Druckenwell. Says the Empire has a bounty on your head.
I didn't know you were at Druckenwell. We should talk.
Is all that real?
It's a need-to-know basis of information, sweetheart.
I'm the Empire's worst
Yes.
nightmare. Okay, let's say that's true. My name's Kamish. These people here, they follow Greystar, our founder.
No other way to say it.
Bound, starved and punished by the Empire. Now you're not from Balmora.
A little kid trying to make nice. I'm sorry.
I wonder how far I can trust you.
Say you're sorry. I'm sorry. Give me a chance.
Let me prove myself. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe you can impress Greystar.
I think I'm supposed to be good.
Not far from here.
Like
Used to make
bad,
toys,
but good.
its defenses
Good
were
bad.
haywire when the
Bad
Empire
bad
took
good.
over.
Good bad.
Place is swarming with rogue security units. It's also full of expensive equipment. Get inside, and there's something I want.
This is beneath me. Of course.
Name it, and it's yours. Yokara Droid Factory.
My
shielded
liege.
power cores for stealth droids. I want to keep
Say it like you mean it.
my people.
Alright, sassy pants. You calm your sassy pants down. That's what I tell Ringo and Diesel. Got your sassy pants on. Got your sassy pants all in a bunch. I'll go now.
I can be on my way. Let's be up front.
Swoosh.
This is a test. So if you fail, don't bother coming back. We'll just kill you.
Oh.
Good luck. And be careful.
Okay.
The factory's a nasty place.
The factory. Am I gonna meet Andy Warhol in there? Locate the shielded power cores. Alright. Let's go. Yes, this way. So you're just climbing the walls. Oh, this is gonna be fun. We know that I do so well in environments. Hello, friends. I don't know if they're friends or not, but we shall pretend. Do we have anything that I need to swap around? Do I have the things for this one now?
Alright, make me look it up.
Yeah. Not that one yet. I don't know why I'm saving that scrap, but I am. Just a hoarder. Back to our transporty friend. Why was that such an easy way around to get back up, but then I had to jump over the edge to get back down? Had to get down. Call you Sassafras Jones? Okay, Sassafras Jones. You related or familiar with a Panzer tank Lebowski Jones? Is he a good relative of yours? On your mother's side. Ah. Tank got full name today, but in a cute way. I was just telling him how adorable and handsome and amazing he is, and just sweet talking the shit out of him. Like, Panzer Tank Lebowski Jones, you are such a sweet man. He gets all happy. The zoo doesn't really get full named for naughty stuff. I'm just gonna... What the heck is your thought process here when they're doing naughty stuff? The general this way direction? Oh, it's the goat droids. Your mother's side, twice removed. So that would mean it's your cousin's child's child on your mother's side? I think when your cousins have children, that means once removed. Pretty sure I figured that out recently. Still don't know if I'm 100% correct on that, but assuming. Targeting would help, Serena. So just zazzing out here. How's that like the once removed or twice removed or whatever comes from like it being disowned, but evidently no. He booped me back. That was rude. Pew. Pew pew. Gunther, that was quite the snore. Like a little person. He's breathing a little heavier than usual. I'm gonna turn up the air purifier to medium from low. I don't know if it'll be extremely louder. That thing is kind of like a little beast. It's pretty loud, honestly. So we'll have some interference for the rest of the night. I do apologize for that, but Gunther comes first. Bring it on! Well, it's disturbing to some extent, I'm sure, but that's just kind of too bad. I'd rather Gunther be comfy. Once or twice removed is going up and down the family tree in regards to cousins. See, I never knew that until I looked up recently what my cousin's child would be to me. I thought that would be my second cousin. But that's my first cousin once removed. If I remember correctly. Tinnitus welcomes it. Oh. Yeah, I think when it's above the low setting, it's audible. I'll have to look back on tonight's stream and see where am I on time. See what the sound difference is and how disruptive it is. Not that I can really do anything about it, but just so I know. It's nice to know things. Just focus on the goat droids. It seems a little more comfy. We'll have to see how he fares through the summer and the humidity, and hot air is harder to breathe than just like normal temperature air. So is cold air, but we don't really have cold air in the house. More likely to have warmer air in the house. See what he does with that, and if we need to do like the box nebulizer kind of setup, then we'll figure that out. You just want him to be comfy. It's not bad. There's Star Wars music, and that sounds louder. Good. It's not even blowing in the background. You guys hear nothing. All you need to hear is do 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 do. It's not exactly the song playing right now, but we're going with it. Oh, that was the cord catching. Okay. Up, up, and away. I know I have just the most titillating, amazing, incredible cover of Star Wars music. I'm just the best. Command Droid Mark. Why is that so funny to me? Mark. Sorry to anyone named Mark. I'm not talking shit. I'm just amused. I'm just a Sagittarius. That's my problem. I am blunt. Are you a slope? Yes. Okay. Kaboom! That looks not good. I'm talking a little bit of shit to the droid Mark. Like, there are many Marks. Not to anyone potentially in chat named Mark. Not being a hater. Just haven't seen a named droid yet. And of all the names, you mark, like, it marks you as a target. Probably. But it's the little things in life. You need something to laugh at. If you're not laughing, you're crying. Con men call them marks for a reason, just saying. Oh, it's true. Not that I'm well versed in the knowledge of con-menery, but I've watched Sneaky Pete. Droid Mark 2, Droid Mark 3, Droid Mark 4. He's the second. Do 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 do. The unavoidable goats. The ending was not satisfying compared to like how satisfying the entire storyline of the show was. It was very well done. Now that I've seen the main character guy in that, though, it's hard to not see him as Sneaky Pete and like everything else. You have like a bonus shield. What happened there, friend? That was interesting. Ah. Ah. It works for him, like he's good at the role, but think he was in a few episodes of My Name is Earl, too. I didn't even place him until after I'd watched Sneaky Pete. It's like, oh, it's that guy. That was pointless. I think. I have a theory with Raising Hope and My Name is Earl. Kind of. Been psychoanalyzing it while watching it. A little bit. So, Joy and Randy are in it. But, like, as a married couple for a while, and then I think at some point Joy has passed away. But that's not their names within the show. But then Crabman is in there too. And he has 2 kids with him. A white kid and a black kid. Just like in My Name is Earl. Is this the thing? And my theory is that they're connected in the way that Crabman is in the witness protection program. So like Joy and Randy have to pretend to be married. And then Joy has to fake her own death. And I'm still going through my bits and pieces of the theory on it. But I am bemused. Cover the shielded power course. Does that mean there's more on another level? There's only one up here? Okay. An awkward, perfectly wrong place in the stairs to get caught. I don't think we're jumping down there. Oh wait, it's a ramp. I remember this. I know what I'm doing, kind of, sort of, sometimes. The birds are very loud on PB's Bird TV right now. I've been targeted. I am using the arrow keys to move. I don't like using WASD unless like you absolutely have to, which some games are just set up to where you absolutely have to. Like when we were playing Sniper Elite, I had to go about it that way. Maybe there was a way to change the settings internally. I have no idea, but I just went with it for that. But I am using the arrow keys. That way I can autopilot my right hand because it's my dominant hand, so I don't have to think about like this, anything movement-wise, while I'm using my non-dominant hand to remember which numbers and attacks for everything else. Science behind it. Ah! It's just inconvenient to have like your hands spread over like this instead of afar. At least for me. I'm sure everyone feels or theorizes or speculates differently upon it. I suppose I could use WSD with my left hand and then use like the keypad numlock if it's on for otherwise, but that's not comfy for my hands. Give a gift to your companion. I don't want to give her a gift. She's ungrateful. That hoe ain't got no love. Purple loot, but it's a gift for her. Like, what do I need to reward you for? I guess healing me all the time kind of counts. So they're not going that when we were in here earlier, perhaps? Okay. I don't really understand the back and forthery. Maybe it's just tired girl hours, which it kind of is. Play a little bit more and then bop back over to the zoo. It's not like I'm moving myself away though, it's like respawning me each time. Great that the WASD controls for MMO type games isn't great. Too many buttons need to be used. It just makes my hands too cramped. Like all of the kid computer games I would play, you could just use the arrow keys. So I never got into the habit of WASDing. And at this point, I just let my right hand think for itself by doing motion. And then my left hand can be in charge of what I need to actually think about. Which I would assume would be the same thing for people who use WASD for motion. Which is what you get used to. I do feel like that was a bit of a handicap when bopping through Sniper Elite though, but that was also my first jump back into a computer game after playing like console only for a while. Let's try this again. How can I not reach that? I'm literally an arm's length away. Christ almighty. Back when you played WoW, you had a lot of buttons on your mouse that you used to share the load. Oh, one of the fancy ones where it has like a key controls on the side of. I know exactly what you're talking about. Is this like glitching? What the f— How many shielded power cores are there? To obtain a case. So why is it still taking me back over and over? Try it one more time and then I'm befuddled. I think you're clicking the wrong thing at the end. That's possible. What I'm selecting is slightly off of the marker on the map, but the map isn't always perfect. But watch, this will be the one time where it's precisely perfect. I really seriously wonder what happened with my coffee earlier when I first started stream. I made instant coffee, and it was in my cup, this cup, and I poured it into the Go cup, so I'd have the straw one, and there were grounds at the bottom, but the cup was clean. I don't know how that happened. It was gross. Like, I can tolerate my coffee a little bit muddy, but when it feels like there's like dirt sand in my mouth, I am clicking the wrong thing. Why is it taking me back to the start and like teleporting me back? It should just do nothing then. Aww. We finally got caught. Yeah, that's why I'm confused as well. Instant coffee shouldn't have grounds. I have no idea why that happened. That was extremely bizarre and uncalled for. I have no idea what happened. I used the Keurig for the cup that I drank before that, so there wouldn't be grounds from that. Like, coffee grounds just randomly spawned. I got no other answer. Maybe it's the glowy box, and not the other thing. I really thought the game was just like testing my mental flexibility. There we go. Round of applause.
Sorry about earlier.
Thank the stars.
I couldn't say it then. Station Chief Reynolds told me you were from Imperial Intelligence, so I said things
When
like
sometimes your French press leaks grounds, and I do find it annoying. Every once in a while I find them at the bottom of my coffee maker too. It's like I didn't want the crunchies. But those are not as bad as what I created tonight. Bring me up to speed.
Sir, Kamish verified your background.
We did talk to him earlier. Why would there be a nice to meet you option? It's nonsensical. My camera's been super high all night, hasn't it? That's the plan.
Kamish is the top priority.
I'm gonna be nice and polite.
Results. The more you impress her, the more she'll give. There's one other thing. Those power cores you're after, you know what Kamish
You must
wants to do.
impress. Okay.
She's gonna attack sober. She'll have some of the new recruits plant the bombs and run. If the town and the Imperial base.
Estimated damage?
How many injured? How many dead?
How am I supposed to figure that? Just listen. I know
I don't know. You're the one in charge of this operation, kind of ish.
There's a machine in the factory that can do it. Run the sealed
Okay.
through the machine, and the cores will fry. Kamish will see it in her market. She will assume the cores were bad over the years.
Enough of this. Let's sabotage her plan. Oh, wait, I think he's trying to go behind her back and do good. Because that's the Jedi choice. Or the Sith choice. We can't take that chance. Or enough of this. Okay, I can be rude to him then. Enough
My
of this.
patience is wearing
Enough.
thin.
I'm sorry. I was out of line, and it won't happen again.
You can click the other thing for a quick escape out of this place when you're done at least. True.
See you when you get back to Trader, okay? Send you out.
Little baby teleport.
Kind of stupid too. If he had money, it's perfect.
That's so rude. What do you even say to that? Go for it. Get out of my hair.
Everyone I want is mine. It's one of my charms.
Let the Dami Mommy course through you.
Anyway, let's find that machine. Or maybe not.
Teleport. Teleport. That was nicely easy squeezy lemon peasy. That was so dumb. I did that like what, at least 3 times, if not 4. That just wanted me to collect like many of them or something. I don't know. If I think I'm doing the right thing, I don't bother to check if it's right. Just do it. Just maybe not a good choice. I don't know if I want to walk by that guy. Run! Run, Forrest, run! Oh no! Oh no! Just don't involve the big guy! No! No! Administrative droid. That's cute. Okay. What did the droids carry around credits for? Like, shouldn't they just have, like, if you needed to get through a place, like, shouldn't you just have a chip in you that says, I'm a droid. I can go through. The thing you're clicking is called Return to the Service. Return to the Surface. I read it as Surface and it came out of my mouth like Service. It's a fast escape feature. I like that. I probably will not remember that, nor be able to identify it again in the future. But I like that. That's very nice. It's very nice indeed. Road! Oh, excuse me. Oh, that's a rock. A rocky road, if you will. I'm like on this road, but not. This is so funny. You don't know where I'm going. Never know where I'm going. Oh my goodness. It's tough being a droid in the future past, barely learning a living and unliving wage. Like, thinking about it on the deepest level that I can at this point in time. It's just like it's a droid, not a person. It's created for a function. So you would think that, like, by law of that, like, your employer might cover your meals or your miles for travel work as a person. Like, wouldn't you create your working droids to have, like, some kind of ship that allows them to take the path of least resistance, i.e., like, not waiting in line and having to pay for transport? I'm both overthinking and underthinking this. Where? I'm just gonna jump down suicidally again. I really don't want to. Oh! I meant to turn around. Oh, there's an elevator. It's funny this conversation is happening while we're playing Star Wars Droid Tycoon. What? Is that a real game? Is that like Roller Coaster Tycoon, but Star Wars droids? What? Is that a real thing? Or are you fucking with me? Do I feed your droids? I mean, like, you gotta keep them well oiled and whatnot. Like, gas them up. Charge them up. I don't know. I'm not president yet. Don't ask me. I don't know. Oh, I fell far. That was not the way. I think. Oops. Elevators continue to not be your friend in-game and IRL. They are not. I am not an elevator person. Apparently, I'd rather jump over the edge of something and nearly die instead of elevatoring. It's a real game, Fortnite mode, a lot of fun. No shit! That is really cool. I am marveled by that. I am tickled by it. Excuse me. I want to get to our return to Chemish, or I don't remember how she said her name. Then it'll probably be time for some eeps. Feed the zoo and eeparoos. My progress with Gigi has been a little bit halted. Because I deep cleaned yesterday her little enclosure, and she's kind of mad at me about that. But I think she'll be Levy Girl tonight. As much as I hate leaving you guys, that's my favorite part of logging off, is I know that I just gotta feed the zoo and then get Gigi time. She's been so close and sweet, and I'm so proud of her. Kind of upset that everything got cleaned, and I moved like all of her stuff over like maybe 1.5 feet. She's not happy about that. Change. But we needed needed to not be walking through that bathroom like an unbalanced giant. I don't want to be fee-fi-fumming around anymore. Oh, I have them.
Right here, Chemish. The full crate.
All yours.
Looks like you actually made it to the factory. It'll take a minute to
I
get this
did.
place open. Sanju, go fetch Piper and a droid.
Excuse me. Jesus Christ.
Crack the case open and let's see if our new friend did the job right.
Looks like
These are
everything's
funny.
here. Power cores read fully functional. This is nice. Very nice.
Good.
Glad I managed to help in the fight. Imperial bodies will be piling up in Sobrik. Don't you worry. Realize I wasn't expecting much. Didn't know if you were ready
Doki
for the cause.
Artichoke.
Didn't know if you had the skills. Still not sure how far I can trust you. But you've got the talent.
Woo! I'll earn your
I'll
trust,
show you I believe in
my
the cause.
liege.
I don't need your promises, but I'm ready to see where this goes. While my people are fixing up the power cores and planting them around Sobrik, you'll be doing something different. You seen the caves in this valley? Dark and cramped.
Gunther's
They make a
breathing
nice hiding
easier.
place.
He's at his
Scanners
normal
don't shut
level
off
of
them.
slightly heavy breathing now. Go on.
You're telling me this for a reason.
Go on.
Graystar set up a training
Jawas
outpost
have
in
their
the
big
caves
sand
around
crawler
there.
with a conveyor belt
Then
by
they
it,
kinda started
where you
dropping
can
gas
buy
bombs on
droid
Republic.
blueprints, and you get blueprints from
Outpost
quest and
explosives.
missions as well.
Toxin got into the
That's
soil.
cool!
Turned good kids into drooling psychos. And the caves were overrun by our own people.
I feel like it'd take me a hot minute to figure that out, but that's cool as shit. Excuse me. Good God. I don't know what the best good girl answer is. Can we
There's
cure
got to be a way to
them?
flush
I
the
don't
toxin
know.
out of your people.
I don't
Restore their
know.
sanity.
I don't
Early
know.
on, maybe there was. It's way too late now.
Mind you, I very casually tossed out that logic paradox to every single chat AI
I want it transmitted
to
out
no
and the
avail.
systems destroyed.
Sanju, get to high ground outside of town.
Oh
You
my
can pick up the
goodness.
signal at booster pumps.
It's always clear. Getting the data won't be easy. But
Her
now
butt
that
is
you've
twitching
got this,
too.
I figure you can survive the outpost.
Why the butt twitches? All clear.
I know what I'm doing. I'll make
It's like a perfect visual of what I feel
Now
when I'm
get
having a
outta
muscle
here.
spasm.
I've got some power cores to pass around and an attack to plan.
Except my butt is not that voluptuous. Install the transmitter. I think you may be a job for next time. Har. Har. I don't want to go, but I'd like to maintain a healthy routine, and I can feel the life force draining out of me. Space Kegel's grace sweeps the galaxy. Oh goodness. I think of Space Kegels now every time my butt spasms. Hooray, routine! Indeed. Indeed. Last night my intention was to like get to bed at a good time and then try to get like 6 or 7 hours of sleep and then pull like a full day, like a normal day, a no nap day today. But I only ended up getting like 3.5 hours of sleep this morning. So I took a 3 hour and 13-minute nap with PB. So I mean I have 6 hours under my belt. That's not bad, but I don't know if I want to try and sleep in a little bit tomorrow. Let's see. I'll probably get to bed by like 4, with it being 1:40 now. And it wouldn't be feasible to sleep in that late. Maybe not. But tomorrow, if I don't stream, or even if PB streams, I could try to, what's it called? Do a normal full day. I think my first couple days of work I'll just skip my meds and I'll feel like shit, but I'll be more functional then. I do need to trim down, like, find a way to make mornings with the zoo go in a better routine or fashion, though. I want to try a couple different things tomorrow morning. Because I timed myself today, and my best time, well, I've been timing myself every day. My best time so far for taking care of the zoo, I think, is 3 hours and 7 minutes. Yeah. That's my best time so far. I'm trying to figure out like what little tweaks I can make and like order of operations for how everything goes, but I need to trim that down to like at least 2.5 hours so that I can have like 30 minutes for myself to set down. And that included walking the dogs this morning, which I'm going to walk the dogs in the evening once I go back to full-time everything. Because I'm not going to want to walk the dogs first thing in the morning anyway. If it's rainy out, I'll be grumpy all day. We don't want that. Whoa, time machine. If only, right? No. It takes probably about an hour and a half to take care of the zoo at night, but in the morning I'm doing litter boxes, which I might try doing litter boxes in the evening tomorrow, although I'd like to look at them first thing in the morning. If I have to choose between doing litter boxes and doing meals, I'm going to do meals. So that'll cut out a portion of time, and then walking the dogs will cut out a portion of time. So we'll probably try that tomorrow and see where the timing is with exactly that. But that's counting time. Let me rephrase that. That's counting time from when I wake up in the morning and until I'm done taking care of the zoo. So start the timer when I take my meds, and that includes all of my sick time in between. So the zoo realistically probably only takes about an hour and 45 minutes, 2 hours at most, to do all of their morning tasks with. But I take up extra time in between because if I'm on the other side of the house downstairs and I need to get sick, then I need to run back upstairs. Hey, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the club. Welcome to the cult. It is whatever you want it to be, baby. It's a choose your own adventure, and thank you for taking the time to be here tonight. It is quite a bit of time, but that's my entire morning of what needs to be done. But I think tomorrow I'll try walking the dogs in the evening. Is it going to be warmer tomorrow? Then I can really justify it. Walking the dogs in the evening and then probably doing litter boxes in the evening, which I was thinking about earlier wouldn't be too bad. I like to look at them first thing in the morning so I have a marker of health, so I know if I need to call the vet, like immediately after waking up. But with time changing, like if someone desperately needs an appointment, needs to get in that day, I'll just have to drop them off at like surgery time, so before work. So realistically, it wouldn't be bad to just see the litter boxes in the evening and then think, okay, well, I need to bring insert name here and drop them off first thing in the morning and then pick them up after work. It's going to be stormy and hot. Well, not like hot, but 80s today. So I think I can excuse walking the zoo in the evening time. I think we can try that. I do need to trim that time down to like 2.5 hours at most though, because I need like 30 minutes just for myself in the morning. And it'd be nice to have like 45 so I could slap on a little bit of makeup. That would be cool. I don't like the warm humans either. But I have to be grateful, because the humidity here is nowhere near as bad as when I was in Texas. It was terrible in Texas. That was the biggest asthma scare that I've ever had since I was a kid. I was amazed. I was shocked. I was very upset. I was not okay. Oh my goodness. It does make my hair so floofy. It is so incredibly frizzy, and I put product on it before stream, but it's so frizz, and it's so floof, and it just gets bigger as the night goes on, and if I just keep doing this, I'll be a lion. It's insane. It's ridiculous, and if I brush it, it's like worse. Then I have to finger comb it, and just... It's dramatic. It's very dramatic. No, I like looking my best. Looking your best and feeling your best often go hand in hand. I don't want to be around clients and coworkers and just be that frumpy girl. Probably won't wear much mascara though, because dog hair tends to get caught in it. But I'll have my glasses on, so it won't be like super intrusive. Bloop, bloop. Bloop, bloop. I think there are very few fields for women that it's acceptable to wear no makeup in. You are expected to look your best. 80s hairdo in no time? Yeah, exactly. We just need a couple of floofs and then like a harder comb over, and then we have the floofy bangs, and we're there. It's not hard to do at all. Got the work goggles though. I have some, I guess I put it, oh no, it is still out here. Some little samples I got of like tinted face cream. So it's like foundation, but not. Like it's lighter than foundation. I want to try one of those and see if it actually does like decent enough coverage. If I like it, I just need to not look tired. That's really all I need to do, is look pleasant and awake. So even if I don't feel pleasant and awake, I just need to look pleasant and awake. It'd be easy peasy lemon squeezy. I do think tomorrow I'll do try. I won't get enough sleep probably, but I'll try different zoo trials and see how that comes about. Maybe I'll try to sleep less tonight and then wake up a little earlier so that I'm extra tired in the afternoon, and then I can lay down a little bit earlier and then be up at time that would make sense. I don't know. We'll do what feels best. Club Cults will be thinking about you. Around our coffee breaks, we'll look up to the sun and think, ah, that was bright. Shouldn't have done that. I do that. We'll probably do it at the same time at some point. Oh my goodness. That's like the way more realistic and way less cheesy of, I'll be looking at the moon and thinking of you. No, we're gonna stare at the sun and go, ah! And then see purple spots for the next 3 minutes. Tonight was wonderful, Club Cult. Thank you, Bebs, for chilling, for being so patient with me this weekend, for being absolute sweet peas, for joining me when I was unannounced today. I think either PB will stream tomorrow or I will just completely not exist at all. I don't know. It's easier to boop things around on here. There's more space to work with, like literally physically space, and just more computer space to work with for binge dumping files. So if I'm on this computer, I don't think I'll be able to stream Peeps on the other one. I have a feeling I want to be on this computer. So the most slight of possible Thanks, buddy. The most slight of possible expectations. Always take good care of the zoo. Always take good... No, only the zoo. Fuck me. Only the zoo. Always take good care of you as you do the zoo. I try. I mean, we all get 2 hots in a cot. Go outside a few times a day. Go for a walk. Get some treats here and there. I'm basically just another one of the dogs. But I'm bipedal. That is the attempt, though. Gotta make sure I have time for my red light therapy in the morning. Oh, but thank you all for a wonderful night. I appreciate you, Beebs. I especially am very grateful for the understanding of the current wavy, wobbly timeline. I'm very grateful, and I appreciate you all for being very understanding of that. You do have a nice coat. It reminds me, I need to put my winter coat away. It's still on the back of the door. I gotta put it downstairs. Thank you for that. Picturing you wiggling on your back. Like a dog getting belly rubs. No, a little over here. Under the ribs. And the leg starts going. It's possible. I do not confirm nor deny. I just tell you that you are wonderful, Club Cult. And thank you for always making me laugh. Oh my goodness. Thank you all for your time. Thank you for your chats. Thank you for your support. And thank you for your company. More than anything, thank you for... Oh my god, I can't breathe. Pardon. That was a big gulp. I didn't mean to take that big of a gulp. Thank you all more than anything for your time. Your time is very valuable. It is this finite thing that you only get so much of to do whatever the fuck you want with, and for whatever reason you choose to be here. And damn, thank you. I appreciate that. I do not take that for granted. I'm a very grateful girly. Whether it's for 2 seconds, 2 minutes, 2 hours, I don't see you again for 2 years. When our times collide, it is beautiful, magical, amazing, marvelous. I'm oh so grateful. You bebs want to keep up with me offline, hop into the Disky Boo. Otherwise, we got the fun stuff. The socials. Some more fun stuff. The sketch for when roughly-ish. I'll see you bebs next. Thank you all for being a part of the Stream the Dreams project. Pigeon sounds quickly turned into EDM. And thank you all for your support with Voya's care costs. I appreciate that immensely, and thank you all for loving him as much as I do. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Club Cult, you are wonderful. Thank you for being here for the stream. Thank you all for being your wonderful selves. I am always immensely impressed by what amazing company I am able to keep. And that means a lot to me. From the bottom of my heart. My hollow little grinchy heart. Oh, bless you. Gunther says, pfft, balderdash. Do me one favor until I see you bubs next, and that is remember that you are wonderful, amazing, kind, spectacular, wonderful, marvelous, oh so gorgeous, and all the good things in the world. Take all those compliments and put them in your back pocket, your side pocket, your cute little hoodie pocket, your adorable little shirt pocket, floating in suspended animation, or wherever it needs to go until I see you next, you sweet bubbos. Have a marvelous rest of your night. Have an amazing start to your week. And I look forward to when I see you next. Get some good eats, get some good eeps. And I shall see you all soon. Good night, Club Cult. Good night, tonight, tonight, tonight.